This is Unabated.com, your direct path to intelligent betting.
Welcome, everyone, and happy football eve. We're just about 24 hours away from the start of the NFL season, so it's probably a good time to do a live stream. I haven't done a live stream in a while, probably since last summer, but it's good to be back with you, and we got some exciting stuff to share. We're going to talk about Unabated tonight. We're going to talk about the simulator, the trading tools. We're going to see everything in practice. We are going to talk with Rufus and talk with Dan, our other founder, and kind of find out a little bit more about what Unabated's all about. Hopefully you guys have signed up. If you haven't, you can go to unabated.com. Our beta period is over, so if you sign up and create an account, you get right in there tonight, and you can be using some of these same tools in your handicapping ahead of the coming season. So I don't like being the big, large head on the screen here, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we can take a look at what Unabated's all about. So this is the dashboard at Unabated, and this is what you see when you log in. I'm going to make this full screen. And what we're able to do here is go into our various features and tools and the simulator. But I'm going to start actually in the education piece. Probably not the best name for it, education. Nobody really wants education, but a lot of great articles in here. In fact, we just had one we put up today from a guest contributor, Robert Delafave, about the riskiness of risk-free bets and how to optimally play them. It's something that could be very profitable to you, especially since if you haven't signed up at all the available sports books you may have in your state, this is a good time for it. The sign-up deals have never been better than they are at the beginning of the NFL season. Also, recent article on handicapping contests. NFL handicapping contests are really popular. There's a lot of attention to the Circa contests out in Las Vegas right now because there's a big overlay in both the Circa Millions and the Circa Survivor. I talk a little bit in this article about using Circa Millions and how to plan out your strategy of attack for that contest. And then there'll be another article coming up very soon, hopefully tomorrow, on Circa Survivor or other Survivor contests and how to go about them. So there's a lot of articles here on the site that hopefully give you a value add. And that's sort of one of the things that we want to see with Unabated is a lot of these sites that have come up about sports betting are all saying the same thing. They're all just trying to funnel traffic into sports books. And so they're telling you whatever you want to hear in terms of how easy sports betting is and how you can do this and that and make easy money. There is easy money to be had out there, yes, but the actual practice of sports betting is not necessarily that easy. And we want to be a dose of reality, a dose of truth, a dose of transparency. Authenticity is a word I like to use because we want to be an authentic source. You don't have to worry that we're taking money from some sportsbook that we're referring you to. There's no referral links. There's no affiliate links on our site. And I think that's a more authentic way to transfer the knowledge to you guys. So again, plenty of different articles here. And the next part that I'm going to show is our trading tools. And this is a very popular part of our site. And let's just get right into it. I'll start with the hold calculator. This is a pretty basic one. This is something that you find in a lot of different places. And it's basically exactly what it sounds. You enter in the lines that you're betting into, and it'll tell you what the hold is. That right there is a standard -110 line. If you're betting against the spread in the NFL this weekend, one side's -110, the other side's -110. The hold there, which is the amount the sportsbook theoretically would hold, is 4.5%. But where this kind of gets to be fun is we allow you to price out maybe some futures markets. So if you have a futures market where there's 5 different teams. So let's go with four different teams in the NFL divisions. You could have a situation where they actually have a negative hold. So if you were to do some line shopping and come up with the best possible price on all 4 teams to win a certain division in the NFL, you can possibly get a negative hold where the sum total of your bets is actually negative on the sports book and positive to you. But in reality, most of the time, it's going to be a situation where the hold is fairly significant on a futures wager, especially if you're just using one book. Sports books tend to not price things too low margin when they have high uncertainty. So in other words, who's going to win the Super Bowl? High uncertainty. However, when they price out their futures markets, they tend to pad in margin. That kind of helps them if they have made a mistake or they missed something, or the league didn't go as we expected, and that way they have a little buffer there. So typically on like a Super Bowl market, you find 15 to 20% hold. In something like a NASCAR race where there's a lot of different uncertainty and a lot of different drivers, you may find hold much even higher than that, up to like 30%. And then you have places like Circa that definitely try to deal a lower margin futures market as sort of a way to get you in the door. They don't offer a lot of the promotional things that other sports books do, but what they do offer are more efficient market pricing. And that means lower margin. That means lower house vig that you're betting into. And that's why you can often find the best price at a book like that. Okay, this has been a very popular tool. This is our compare lines calculator. And it's pretty straightforward. You can compare 2 lines together. So a popular one we see a lot of times is you have one sports book that has, on the NFL, has -3 even money. And you have another sports book that's -3.5 plus 120. And which one of those is the better line? Well, our calculator kind of does the algorithm, runs it through, and says the -3.5 is the better line. And it kind of tells you, if we were to price this in terms of that first line, that -3, -3.5 converts to -3 plus 104, and therefore plus 104 is better than plus 100, and you can find out which one is the better price. If we have viewers that are viewing from maybe overseas and you're dealing with decimal lines over there, well, our calculator can take decimal lines as well. So you could put in -3 2.0 and -3.5. Let's say that'd be like 1.83. And we should get so -3 2 at 2.0 equals -3.5 2.19, and in decimal you want the lower one, or you want the higher one rather, and so it's -3.5 2.19 is the better price than -3.5 1.83. I don't really do a lot with decimal, so I kind of stumbled through that one there, but the math adds up on that. And we recently actually added college football as well. That was something that wasn't in our beta, but we released just this past week. This is very useful for bettors that are looking to find some edge in some college football markets. There are hundreds of college football teams. And so on any given Saturday, there are a ton of games. And you can often find a lot of value in some of these games that are hidden off to the side that maybe the public didn't pound into shape. Sometimes there's a lot of value in these games, especially in some of the alternate lines. And our tool is useful in kind of finding alternate lines, not just the compare lines tool, but then we also have the alternate lines tool. And with this tool, we can put in what the market price is and then find what the alternate line should be priced at. So in other words, let's go back to our example there of -3, -110 in the NFL, a very common line. But what if you find in the alternate prices -4.5 plus 120? Is that a good bet? Well, you can put in that the alternate line is -4.5, and it'll tell you that the equivalent pricing at -110 is plus 123. So plus 120 would be decent, but not quite as good as if you just played the main -3. And when you're dealing with finding the alternate price on things, you often want to put in the VIG-free price of the line that you're looking, the main line that you're looking to overcome. So in this case, it's, we'll just say even money there and run that back through. And it says actually plus 134 would have been the best possible price to come up with there in terms of a VIG-free market. So getting at that at like plus 120, not as good. And you know what? Let's get into the live betting portion of this. Let's put this tool to the test. Let's head to the Major League Baseball. There's still some games to go tonight, and let's use our tools here on MLB to shop for some lines at the books that I have available to me in New Jersey. So now I've tried to arrange this screen as best possible. It's very tough I operate here with 3 screens, and so at any given moment, I may have, an odd screen over here, and I may have one sportsbook here and another sportsbook over here, and maybe the Unabated tools over here. So doing this all on one screen is going to be a little tough. If this resolution gets to be not good enough for you guys to read watching this stream, go down to the settings in YouTube into where the stream settings are, and see if you can bump it up to 720p. That will be probably the best resolution you're going to get. That's what I'm broadcasting out at through StreamYard here tonight. So let's go in here. Let's look at. I'm not going to look at a game that's starting in 6 minutes. That's not quite enough time to research things. But we got the Dodgers-Cardinals game tonight. Should be good. That is starting in 30 minutes. So I'm going to pull that up here at BetMGM. Now, just so you know, I can't log into these sports books while doing this stream. I won't pass the geolocation test because it's thinking I could be sharing my screen and other people could be betting through me, violating interstate betting laws. So I'm not actually going to be logged in, and I'm actually not going to bet any of these. But if I find some value and you guys have a BetMGM book in your state, feel free to jump on it. I don't care. It kind of, let's see if we can move some lines around tonight if we find some value. Okay, so we have over here in the trading tools, we have the Major League Baseball trading tools. It gets a little bit out of whack here with the screen because of, the size of everything. And I'm just going to resize this a little bit. And I'll get to why I have this up there in a few minutes. Okay, so we have the Dodgers-Cardinals game. And the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at what the money line price is with that game. And you know what? BetMGM is not quite a sharp enough book for me. So I'm going to just peek around at some of these other books. I put up a few up here. We might grab a few others as we go. Let's look at FanDuel. I have a little bit more respect for FanDuel's sharpness when it comes to making lines. You may disagree. I don't know. It kind of goes back and forth. But FanDuel's basically saying Dodgers are a -130 favorite, Cardinals 110 dog. Similar at BetMGM. Let's go to resorts. 130, 110. Let's look at Fox Bet, 130, 110. So it looks like 130, 110 seems to be the consensus. Look at DraftKings here, 130, 110. Okay, so we have a pretty good consensus right now of the Dodgers being a slight favorite at -130. So the first thing we want to do, just trying to rearrange these to be a little bit more friendly on the screen. The first thing we want to do is we want to find the VIG-free price of that game. So down here in this spreadsheet, I've put together some quick calcs that we might use tonight on our broadcast. And one of them is calculating the VIG-free line. So -130 plus 110 is minus 119 is the VIG free line. Now, let me just take a little second here. A mistake that a lot of bettors make when they start out is when you say VIG free line, they just say, oh, I'll just cut the two prices in half, and where they meet is the VIG free line. And not quite. The US odds system is exponential, so the distance from one price to the next increases as the numbers increase away from even money. It's probably too complicated to try to explain on a live stream like this. But basically what you can do is you can add the two probabilities together that the line creates, and then you can divide out the overround, which is the amount that it equals over 100%. And you get a better approximation of what the VIG free line is. If you're really a nerd about this, there's probably even better ways to factor out the VIG in the equation. This is called the additive method. The additive method is good enough. It's better than just slicing that number in half like a lot of people do. So all that said is minus 119 on the Dodgers is our VIG free line. And I'm going to put that into the trading tool here. And then we also need to factor in the total, because the amount that a line is worth really depends on other factors in the game, such as the total. So back over here to FanDuel, and we see that it is lined pretty much right at 8. We'll just check a couple other books. Let's see what DraftKings has. 8 factored a little bit to the over. PointsBet, we didn't try you yet tonight. Let's see where you have the game at. Of course, you don't have it in your top list there. Let's pull it up. They have it at 8.5, slanted to the under. FanDuel had it 8.5, 8 minus 112 to minus 108. Let's go with that minus 112 to minus 108. And we see that the VIG free price is minus 102 to the over. So we can go ahead and put that in here as well. Minus 102 to the over, plus 102 to the under. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at pricing the alternate run lines for this game. And let's go ahead and we'll go to DraftKings, because I know they list it right away. And you see all of these alternate run lines for this game. Now, typically what I like to do is I'm going to start by trying to price the posted run line, which would be, in this case, Dodgers minus 1.5, the favorite minus 1.5, to make sure that our number is going to match up with the general consensus of the book. Because the run line, the typical run line, is not hard to get correct, and a lot of them do a fine job with this. So we see that plus 139 should be the run line on the Dodgers. And if we go over here, and this window got a little smushed, I'm just going to expand it out. We see that they have it at minus 150 and plus 130. So therefore, plus 139 definitely fits in the middle of those, and therefore it is the proper price. This wouldn't be a bet just looking at the run line, and we didn't expect it to be, because everyone has the run line. It's not like somebody's going to be off on just the run line. It's the alternate run line where we might find some value. So let's go back over here and let's start looking at some of these other alternate run lines, such as the Dodgers minus 2.5. So we change in the calculator here, change this over to minus 2.5. Plus 207 is what they say should be the price for the Dodgers in the minus 2.5. And we see here at DraftKings, it's plus 185. The other side is minus 245. And since we're using the VIG free price, the opposite of this would be the price for the Cardinals plus 2.5. It would be minus 207. So we see right here, that number is between these two lines. There's no value here. Let's keep going, though. How about minus 3? Plus 268. Okay, we're getting a little closer. They're dealing at plus 250. That's still not good enough. Let's go to minus 4. Plus 394. They're dealing 385. Doesn't look like we're going to find value on this one at DraftKings, but we're only just at DraftKings. We can still check other books. I'm going to just do minus 4.5 just for the fun of it. They say 420. The Unabated tool says 427. DraftKings says plus 425. They're very close. It's almost like a zero VIG bet to bet that. But let's go to some other books because, to be honest with you, DraftKings is one of the sharper ones when it comes to alternate pricing. Let's go to one that usually doesn't do a good job of it, and that's BetMGM. Sorry, guys, they don't. So if we go down to with this minus 425, we see that they're dealing plus 400. That's not great. Let's see other ones here. Minus 2.5. No, they're not there yet either. Now, okay, so it doesn't look like BetMGM is going to have value on it. Let's look at Fox Bet. Just refresh this page. I don't think I refreshed it since I came up here. Okay, let's see, minus 3.5, plus 275. No, they're not value yet either. So what about reverse run line? They're dealing Dodgers plus 1 at minus 222. We can put the reverse run line in here. It says minus 193, so that wouldn't be value either. So we're striking out on finding value on the Dodgers so far. We'll try resorts just because that's, well, you know, this is going to be the same line as DraftKings, I believe, because they're both SB Tech books. Let's see what we got here. Dodgers plus 1. Yeah, they're dealing minus 220. About Dodgers minus 3.5. Yep, just comes up short for some value. All right, so we're not finding any value on alternate run line on that game. You know, that's the risk of live streaming is I couldn't tell you what the lines were going to be, so I was just hoping to find one. Let's try on the total for this game. So we know that the total here was slanted to the over. It was 8 minus 102 to the over, 102 to the under. Let's look at some alternate totals. So what would be the alternate price for 8.5? They say plus 116. We'll stay here at resorts. And that does come up between the two that they have there. So let's go a little bit more extreme. Let's say over 11. They say it should be 328. Yeah, that comes up between the two here. And yeah, 311.5. That comes up between that. All right, let's try a different game. Let's go back over. You know, we didn't check FanDuel's prices. That might be worth a shot, just in case. Oh, you know what? Look at that, minus 3.5. Let's go back to over here. This was minus 119 on the away, 8. It was minus 102, plus 102, alternate line of minus 3.5. Oh, look, we found one. Okay. So if you go over here on FanDuel, they are dealing the Dodgers minus 3.5 at plus 310. The unabated calculator says plus 297 is the VIG free price. So how much of an edge do you have at plus 310 compared to what it should be at 297? So that's, again, I'm going to use the tools down here. First, we need to convert the US odds to probability, and we find that 297 is equal to a 25.19% implied probability. Let's go ahead and go down to my third line here, which is calculating the edge. We enter the 2519. We put in the line of 310, and we find that this is a 3.28% edge. So there you go. Now, is a 3% edge enough for you to bet it? I would say yes. Usually my cutoff's around 2%. There's a lot of pros out there that do a high volume, and 2% is great. Like that's, you know, they jump all over 1% or all over 0.5% if they trust their numbers. I tend to put a little bit more cushion in there. For something like this where the math is pretty implicit on what is good, what is bad, what is, you know, what is viable, what is value, I tend to use a much smaller margin. It goes back to like how the sports books, if they're confident in their numbers, use a smaller margin. If they're not confident, they use a bigger margin. So now if this was something like props, where I'm kind of creating my own projection and I'm just kind of maybe half-assing it and pulling up various statistics to kind of create a projection on a running back yards gained, I might want a larger margin. I might want to say I need at least 10% edge here in order to want to bet this, because I just don't trust my numbers enough. Similarly with this, these math numbers are pretty implicit. We've seen that all the other sports books don't have value here, but FanDuel for some reason does. So I would go ahead and bet this 3% edge. It's a decent little bet. And the nice thing is it's sort of a long shot. So you don't have to lay a lot of money, and you can go ahead and win a little bit. I knew my dog was going to make an appearance here at some point. She just loves seeing the lights on in my office. There must be a reason to bark about it. So anyway, yeah, I would say plus 310 is a good bet. Go ahead and take that. Let's just look, since FanDuel was kind of a good target on that one. Let's just look at that total one more time over here. That was 8 minus 102 plus 102. Let's see, what do they have here? They got plenty of options for us. What about over 12.5? They said it should be 492, and they got it priced at plus 390, so they're not going to be a play on that. Let's just maybe check the under. Now it's minus 550. So they're probably not a play on the total on that one. But that's how we kind of do it. That's how you can use the tool to find some value. I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to get talking into the simulator. Rufus is going to join us on the stream here. But before we do that, why don't we do a giveaway? So we have these beautiful Unabated t-shirts. Let me hold this up on the screen, and let me get myself on the screen. I'll do the whole damn screen. All right, we have these Unabated t-shirts. Let me flip that around. That's the front. On the back, you have the Unabated logo way up high there. We've got a few of these. Well, we only have extra large, unfortunately. But we do want to give away some of these, and we're going to do it throughout the broadcast here tonight. So here's how we're going to do it. In the chat box, just enter one time, and enter by typing an emoji of food, any food you'd like, in the chat box, one time, one emoji. Go ahead and do that. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. I'll kind of filibuster here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the chat box on screen. I'm going to randomly scroll around, not look, and select somebody to win a t-shirt, and we'll go ahead and mail it to you. So do that in the chat box. Please just enter once, and go ahead and enter whatever food emoji you'd like to have. And maybe it's what you had for dinner tonight. Maybe it's going to be funny. I'm sure there's going to be tacos and eggplants and peaches. That's just how the internet works. So give it a second there to get them all in there. Okay. All right. Gave enough time. I'm going to slide. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen back up here. I'm going to slide this chat window in here, and we got a great selection here. I'm not looking at it. I'm going to just scroll up and down and stop. And Liam Ryan, you have won yourself a t-shirt. I'm going to put Liam Ryan up here in our chat window. I got to take this off before we start repeating over and over again in the window. But Liam Ryan, you have won yourself a t-shirt. Liam, what I need you to do is contact us at support@unabated.com, and we will mail you a t-shirt. And if you could, in the chat here, just put the first 3-4 letters of your email address. You don't have to put your whole email address. Just the first 3-4 letters, so we know who it's coming from. And we'll be awaiting your email to support@unabated.com, and give you your free t-shirt. Hope you fit into an extra large, and if you don't, hope you've got a extra large friend who does. Okay, let's get back into, I know it's so corny, right? Let's get back into the using the tool. Going to make this full screen again. And let's find another one of these games. We still have a few minutes before the rest of the games kick off here for baseball. Okay, the Angels and the Padres. That looks like a good one. Again, I'm going to just check what the appropriate money line would be. I'm going to just sample a few different sites here to get a sharp number. Now, I could also just go out to like pinnacle.com and check their number, because we know Pinnacle's a sharp book. Use them as your barometer. Take the VIG-free Pinnacle line is what a lot of people would do. That's not a bad option as well. I'm just using these since we have them on screen. Looks like minus 140 come back on plus 120. You know what? Here's a good one. Use William Hill, because they deal a 10-cent line. They're Caesars now. I'm still going to call them William Hill for like 5 years. But they deal a 10-cent line or a low VIG line. So they're a good one to check. So they got minus 280, come back 240. Minus 290, come back 230. All right, so I'm going to use the minus 280, come back 240. Let's look at what we can do with the home team on this one. Let's look at the home team, and first we got to get our 251 is our VIG-free price. 251, and the total on that one was 8 shaded to the under. What do you say, Will? They say 8 shaded to the under. We're going to go with 8 shaded to the under. 9. Oh, over minus 109. Okay, so we got it all set up in here. We're looking at the Padre. We're looking at, so we say that 251 would be, the home team would be minus 251. That would have been some crazy numbers. Let's look at what we see on Padres minus 2.5. And now there's a little bit of a different dichotomy when you're dealing with baseball, home team, away team. If the home team's leading, they don't bat in the bottom of the ninth, there's less chance for them to have a larger win. So you're going to see some of these numbers might be a little different than what we might expect had it been the away team favored, where we had with the Dodgers and the Cardinals. We'll stick here at Caesars and alternate lines. So Padres minus 2.5 is plus 130. We say plus 134 is the VIG-free price, so that they're okay on that. Let's just bump up the scale here a little bit. 3.5. They say plus 200. We say plus 208, so they're in line. Let's go over here to Fox Bet. Now, one of the things you can do to make this a little easier is, if you notice here at a place like Fox Bet, and we'll see this more when we start talking some NFL lines here in a few minutes, they list them all out kind of like vertically like this. It's far easier to read, and you can look for areas where the gap from one half line to the next is shorter than other places. And those are the areas where you might want to see, okay, that might be a good target to try to do. And these are pretty well spaced, appropriately spaced out. Although we do see, as they're crawling up higher and higher, this 182 to 213 seems like a smaller jump. So over here, these aren't anything worth a play. We'll just put the minus 4 in here, but I don't think this is going to be worth a play on not even close. Let's just do minus 1. Minus 190, they're dealing minus 225, not even close. Let's go back to BetMGM. And the other thing about this is you're more likely to find this value earlier in the day, before things have kind of been hammered into place. Somebody might have already picked off some of these alternate lines on you. So sometimes it's better to look at these earlier in the day. I didn't get a chance to look at any of these earlier today. So it wasn't me that picked any off. Let's just check here. What we are at, minus 1.5. 118 over here. They're dealing minus 135. No, that's no good. Let's check minus 4.5. No, they're dead. Okay, so now here you can tell the reverse of this would be good though, because look at this. We have the proper price for the Angels plus 4.5 should be minus 323. They're dealing minus 300. Let's go ahead and run that through the calculator here. So the proper price should be minus 323. And you know what, let me just show you guys that so that you don't. So if we the away team and plus 4.5. So okay, it does come up a little different because when you start at one side and it's the away team and they're definitely batting in the ninth, there's more of a chance that they would have an extra set of at bats. So the price is a little higher. So it turns out not to be a wager. I apologize for that. But oh no, sorry. So I got myself confused there. Minus 330 and the Angels line is minus 300 there. So let's definitely, let's run that through. So 76.74 is our probability. And we're betting into a line of minus 300. So we got a 2.32% edge betting the Angels plus 4.5 minus 300. The line should be minus 330, vig free. So that is, that's a decent wager. It's a little bit less than that other one, 2%, 2.3%. But if you are in a situation where you need to fulfill wagering requirements and you have to, cycle through so much money, and they don't mind if you bet something like a minus 300, this is a good way to do it. Kind of, cycle through some of those bigger wagers. You have an edge, and you're still putting up more than you're winning, so you're kind of getting through the wagering requirements. A little trick you can do there. Okay, so that is the trading tools when it comes to using them in the baseball. And a little bit further in this live stream, we're going to get into using the trading tools in football, college football, things like that, in conjunction with maybe some of the simulator stuff that we're gonna look at. But now I kind of want to transition a little bit into discussing Unabated on a whole. And one of the people I want to bring in is Dan Fabrizio. And Dan, welcome to the live stream. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be talking about Unabated and all the fun stuff that we've been working on the last 9 months or so.
Yeah, did you like me kind of stumbling through all those all those trading tools?
These are a great job.
That's
live. The way it works with sports betting. You got to put through a lot of work, and sometimes nothing happens, and other times there's value. That's
exactly right. Sometimes it is it's a lot of work, and you end up not finding any value.
Oh, I think you cut off. Maybe
before we do that, Dan, what is your background? What have you done before this?
Yeah, sure. So I've been involved in the online betting world really since the beginning of it going online. So in the late 90s, I moved to the offshore world and helped launch one of the first online casinos and sportsbooks. I did that and then kind of saw that people were betting online, but there wasn't much information to help them make bets. So I launched a company called Sports Insights. And our goal was to educate people, basically use some very basic financial tools that you've seen in the financial market in the sports betting world, starting to graph games, opening and closing lines, which means the games are getting bet. And I kind of backdoored into it. Started off as a hobby, said, hey, this is something people really want, and people really liked it and were willing to, ultimately pay money for it. And we had a subscription-based site. And I did that for a long time until a company was sold to the Churning Group, who ultimately became the Action Network. And I stayed there for a couple of years, but didn't quite like the direction they were heading compared to what my roots had been, more about building tools and helping, bettors ultimately make their own decisions. And then I left there and kind of was sitting around in the betting world trying to figure out what to do next. And an opportunity came up. I've known Rufus for about almost 7 or 8 years. He used to go to the MIT conference, the Sports Analytics Conference, which really back in the day was one of the de facto sports betting conferences, because there really was nothing set up for bettors unless you went over to Europe, to that ICE. Everybody's ever been over there, but that's a little bit more industry focused, like casinos and sports books. But it was kind of like had its own little vibe, the MIT thing that, professional bettors would go to and people in the industry. And I'm more obviously on the entrepreneurial side. I'm not really a professional bettor. I just help bettors, make decisions, and that's that's what I bet on is making companies and trying to make them, something that people want. So yeah, I started doing that, and then got a hold of Rufus, and we both had similar visions about what this industry really needs. Obviously, he's been very outspoken about helping players, and I've been doing it from a different angle, but an opportunity came up, and then next thing you know, I started talking to you, and we had a nice mix. I think when you start these companies, you want a good mix. You don't want all engineers. You don't want all marketing people. You don't want all professional bettors. You want people that kind of can do the business part of it, and people that understand the industry, and people that can build it. And Matt Snyder is obviously instrumental in actually making it happen in terms of the development standpoint. So kind of got that core group together, and felt really excited about it. And this is what we're at. Got today is what that fruition of all that hard work that lasted 9 months.
So let's bring in the third party here, the aforementioned Rufus Peabody. Rufus, welcome to the live stream. Glad you could join us as well. So Dan just kind of outlined how he got started into this. Do you want to give kind of your angle of where you were coming from in starting Unabated?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been pretty vocal in my opinions of about a lot of the sports betting content out there, especially pick selling. And I've built a bunch of tools that I've used, and I kind of have a passion for letting people build things themselves. I think that there's really not a lot out there in that department, nothing at all in that department, actually, in the sports betting world. And I feel like, I think something like that's a lot more sustainable, good for the ecosystem. It'll bring in, it'll allow bettors to sort of, I guess, I feel like, to steal a term from Captain Jack, like kind of level up, and kind of, or advance along the sort of on their journey to becoming sharp, I guess. It's certainly not going to get, I mean, I don't want to give people the answers exactly, but it'll allow people to sort of quantify their opinions and build things that way. And so that's kind of what I have a passion for. And, after betting for, I guess, a dozen years now, I've been looking for something for a little while now, a little bit different, building something, and sort of building this company is kind of I guess right now, tonight, is sort of a lot of hard work by a lot of people coming to fruition. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm this is just the beginning. I feel like we have so many things we want to build. It's just, the hardest part for me is the fact that I'm kind of naturally impatient. I'm like, I want to do this, and this. And everybody is like, Dan and Jack are kind of like, okay, let's slow down. We got to do one thing at a time here. We can't, they keep me focused for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I share that with you though, Rufus. I feel like there's so much. I know that I see this. I see where it could go. I see what the tools we could build. I know what people need in order to answer some of these questions. And it's frustrating at times to know that you can't just snap your fingers and build this amazing tool. Building a spreadsheet that calculates the vig free price, takes 2 seconds. But then building a website that has a user interface and has error control and validation and all this, that takes a little bit more. So Rufus, Dan, and I, and the other founding member, Matt Snyder, who's off camera tonight, and he's the head of our engineering. We started to build a team, and we started to find, okay, well, we're going to need data scientists. So we went out and we hired data scientists. We're going to need engineers, coders, guys and girls, because that's valid too. And just guys is a collective term. But we needed ones that could code well and build these tools. And you need people that kind of understand sports betting too. And where they don't understand it, you kind of need to teach them sports betting, because it's like this whole other language, this whole other math that is sports betting math. So we've been slowly kind of getting the ball rolling, and now we're getting to the point where, okay, we've got momentum. We've got a lot going on, and we can pump out these tools faster. The trading tools that I was showing you, they took several months. And then we said, okay, well, we need to add college. And we were able to do that in a very short amount of time because we had already this foundation base. And going forward, we're going to have even more trading tools. We're going to have partial game derivatives like first half and halftime, second half type bets. Rufus, what are some of the things you're looking forward to? I don't want to tip our hand too much, but what are some of the ideas you have in your head? Because some of them are just really fascinating.
The question is, what am I allowed to say?
Well, if you see Dan and I doing this, then no, go ahead.
So,
anything you want to say?
Jake, can I talk about what's going to be coming out in the next month, hopefully?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay, well, so I'm excited to have sort of a prop betting tool that sort of allows people to price out things that they would not be able to without actually being able to run simulations. So, for example, think about an NFL receiver and a receiving yards prop. You might have a guy projected for like 5.2 catches and 73 yards, but is under 74.5 a good bet? Is over 68.5 a good bet? I would say the former is definitely a good bet. The latter is definitely not, because there's a difference between the mean and the median. But that's going to change depending on the type of receiver and sort of what that distribution looks like. So, what are the odds that a receiver gets 100 or more yards? That's relevant for fantasy. That's relevant for DFS. That's relevant for a lot of same game parlays that books offer. And so being able to price those things with your own projections, and we kind of come up with, we fit that distribution based on, historically, like what is a wide receiver that averages 15 yards per catch? What does that look like? And then down the line, I'd like something that kind of allows people to, build their own distribution where, they can look at historical distribution, regress a certain amount towards the sort of default distribution for a receiver of that type, and end up with basically being able to price out any kind of receiving yard number, and sort of same thing for rushing yards, same thing for passing yards. Basically these things where there isn't one distribution, it fits, right? I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, no, I am too. I think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of people, especially during the NFL season. Props are huge. Yeah. And people can get, decent money down on props, not a ton of money, but they can get decent money enough that it's worth your time to look at props. I've said that for a long time, and I think it's going to continue to grow as we kind of migrate from the DFS players, become sports betting players. So it's a great transition, and I really look forward to these tools. I look forward to testing these tools out. That was some of the fun of building Unabated, was being able to see Rufus's spreadsheets and knowledge. Rufus, there was a podcast that came out just yesterday, Risk of Ruin podcast. And if people don't already listen to Risk of Ruin, you're missing some of the best content out there. It's probably my favorite docu-series type of podcast. Well, they profiled you as well as some former teammates of yours. I got a question for you. How much of the tools that we have at Unabated were part of your arsenal when you were working with Mark and Zach and kind of tormenting Las Vegas?
Well, they still have access, or, I created these spreadsheets for everybody on our trading team to use. So they still, at least they still have access to some of these older versions of it. But the trading tools were versions of that were already existed. One difficulty with this is, is the fact that we had to try to de-bias the lines, which I didn't take the time to do in the past, meaning that, historically favorites, or historically NFL totals from 48 to 54, that type of range, have gone under, I think 53% of the time or something like that. And so if you're building something for a first half and basing it off of full game number, well, you're going to basically show a lot of value on unders for the first half around 24 and a half, 25, because these games were going under a lot more. And so basically when we built this, we basically need to we're pricing out the value of these different points But we're having to go kind of top down in the fact that we're having to basically say the price you enter is like the market price. That is the median. If you say 50, over minus 113, that needs to be, the true price. And so that was an added layer. But generally, but everything, versions of the trading tools I've used for years, and the other stuff that we're going to be introducing for the first half correlated parlay stuff, first quarter. I also have versions of that as well. And so and in terms of the prop stuff, I don't have like a sheet that can do this, but when I do props for the Super Bowl, for NFL props, I run simulations for receivers, for the running backs. And so that's.
What's funny too, Rufus, when we first met, you were with that group. You were just starting off in the sports betting world. I remember meeting Zach and your other partners. I'm not sure who I can say or not, so I won't. But
you can say them all.
Okay, but yeah, that's when we first started talking. You had your group out there in Vegas, and it's kind of funny to see you now and see you in a podcast, potentially doing a movie deal on it too. From what I'm hearing, right?
I mean, Mark and Zach I don't know if I can say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Mark was 2 years ago was kind of like, had this idea to have like sort of a TV show series about our story, which, I think it's a pretty cool story. And I think actually the coolest parts of the story are before I even met those guys, what they did in Boone, North Carolina, and the fact that, the bonus, like they literally had a corporation signing up like the entire student body at Appalachian State to, to sign them up for all these online casinos and running, collecting, the bonus money and, betting through and returning a ton. And, the funny,
Zach telling me that in their terms, at some point, they just banned the state of North Carolina,
or Boone, North Carolina. Yeah,
like you cannot sign from this county or this state or this region, which is it's amazing, taking advantage of those bonuses like they did and turn that into a factory of just printing money.
Yeah, he said it was like Iran, China, like North Korea, and Boone, North Carolina were ineligible for the bonuses at the end. So.
Yeah. So one of the questions that we have in the chat is something that we knew we were going to get asked tonight, and it's this one here. Will Unabated at some point become a paid subscription? I assume you plan to monetize it at some point, given the money you spent to develop and host it. Yes, Stephen, we are spending considerable money to develop and host it.
All our own money.
Yeah, it's all funded so far. Dan, I'll kind of direct this over to you, even though I know the answer myself. What is the plan going forward in terms of paywall?
Yeah, for sure. Like we are definitely building a subscription business. That's number one. I think that's how we're going to generate revenue. We don't want to have to go to the affiliate route and be tied to certain books and to players. That kind of goes against, our beliefs and our kind of vision for it. When and how much, we're not sure. And that's the truth. As we build out more stuff, we're getting more and more positive feedback. We're feeling better about the stuff. And of course, how much value does it deliver to the member? We don't want to charge a ridiculous amount of money for something that's obviously not delivering value, and vice versa. If it's a very valuable product, we know people can go out there and make money with it. Even just the trading tools. I've been using them in my daily handicapping now for the last few months because I've had access to them for a while now. But that's just helped my bottom line. And okay, if I'm saving somebody money, that's going to help them. So I think that's kind of the short answer is really we don't know. Hopefully at some point soon, yes, the plan is to be subscription based, and that's how we're going to generate revenue. A lot of stuff's still going to be free. I think that's where we're going to build an audience and some key things and a lot of the content that Jack puts out there. It's not like we're going to be 100% pay. I always like this mix of maybe 80-20, a lot of good free stuff that helps people kind of understand us and believe us and kind of feel what we're about and hopefully benefit from that. And then just by the way, there's something bigger behind the door. If you believe in what we're doing, we can even help you even more. I think that's my hope for it as we grow this out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think we have a great product that really does help bettors of all types. For the recreational bettor that's just starting out, we're going to have plenty of content related to helping you make your first bets, make good decisions, sort of that logic of sports betting. If you haven't already read that book by Ed Miller and Matt Davidow, that's the best book you can read right now. But it's a book. And our website is a website where you can kind of experience that. And you can do line shopping, and you can do cross comparison, and you can look at alternate markets and derivative markets to find value. And we want to have strategy articles and, figure out the best way to do things that might not be obvious to you as you're a beginning bettor. And then for the intermediate bettor, we have these trading tools where you can kind of answer these questions. I was reading a conversation today about teasers, and they're saying, well, these teasers are good, but these teasers are bad. And people say these teasers are bad, but I think they're good. Well, we got a tool where you can price out the teasers all day long, every day, and you can find out which ones are good and which ones are bad. You don't have to go by what your gut says, and that's for the intermediate bettor, the person that's looking to answer the questions they may have, but don't have the resources or coding chops to answer them yet. And then for the advanced bettor, we're going to have an odds screen. We're going to have the ability to have this simulator, which we're going to be talking about in a few minutes here with Rufus. And the simulator is easily best in class. It's something that if this came out in
only in class.
What's that, Rufus?
The only one in the class.
Well, it's the only one in the class that has dynamic uncertainty built into it, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit here. But it's an amazing tool, and I'm not just saying that because I'm part of the team that built it. It's an amazing tool because I'm just flabbergasted that it's a tool that's available to the public right now. So yeah, look, there's so many things at Unabated. I think it's a really good product. I don't know how much it's going to cost. And when I tell people we haven't even had the conversation of a price point, Scouts Honor, guys on the screen can attest, we haven't had the conversation. We want to see how much it's worth first. We want to see how big of an impact it can have in the sports betting world and how people take to it, and then price it accordingly. But we're not looking to make a quick buck here. It's more of, we want to provide this authentic tool that nobody else has provided so far. I'm not sure why there's none other out there that are this good. The thing I always bring up is, if you want to find out how much a half point is worth in the NFL, you can Google it and you won't get the right answer. You'll get pages and pages of Google answers, but you won't get the right answer. The lead candidate for the one that everyone goes to find out how much a half point is worth is a tool that was created in 2006 and hasn't been updated since. The NFL has changed a bit in the past 15 years. So using statistics and modeling from 2006 isn't good enough anymore. We have the ability to kind of give you those answers. Now, do we have a chart on our site that says, here, each half point's worth this, this, this? No, we don't, because it's a dynamic question. It depends on what point you're starting from to answer that question as to what the correct answer is. And that's another key thing that a lot of people just don't understand when it comes to the math of sports betting. But we have the tools to give you those answers. So, yeah, long-winded version of saying that we don't have a price point yet, but we're looking to have one sometime soon. Let's see if there's any other questions here. There was a question about golf I saw, and I'll just bring it up while Rufus is on the screen here.
I'm ready to answer.
Yeah, there it is. Any plans for golf betting tools? Rufus's experience,
expertise, and experience, I guess.
Oh, expertise. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'll have another drink.
So no immediate plans. I think that's. Sure, I could build tools for that, but I think I think Data Golf already does a very good job of that, and they have you can build your own. They have a simulator engine as well. I think the thing is, it's not as. I feel like people. People don't normally say, well, how much is a stroke worth in a round? There are not as many sort of alternate lines and things like that. So I just don't really see, hell, I use trading tools myself. Like, I have for years, I have this Google spreadsheet I'll refer to, that's productionized, where I can put in a number and see an alternate number and see what the price should be. I don't have anything like that for golf. I don't ever use anything like that. So I just don't really see it as being as necessary or as useful. but I'm definitely not against building golf betting stuff. Although I feel like there's sort of data golf has set a pretty high bar for a golf product. So I'm.
Yeah. No, I agree. The other question we've gotten a lot today is soccer tools, creating soccer analytics tools. I don't bet soccer myself, but there seems to be a definite thirst for it, and the World Cup is coming next year. So maybe by next year we might have some soccer tools people could use in World Cup betting.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That's not going to be too much of a lift.
Cool. Another question here that I thought was good is, will Unabated provide a bet tracking service? Again, we don't want to tip our hand too much, but Rufus, you have a little bit of a idea here that I think has legs, right?
Well, we'd like to. Are we talking about the futures tracker?
The portfolio?
No? Yeah. So yeah, we want to have sort of a portfolio tracker, sort of the like Mint or Betterment for your futures portfolio. So which would integrate with our NFL futures simulation engine, so you can actually sort of see how the EV of your futures changes over time. We have some other ideas in terms of bet tracking, but I mean, I think the big thing with that is that we want something to be a value add for bettors. I mean, people love, bettors love tracking things first off, but we hate logging bets. That's the worst part. So if I have some ideas for something that I think would be useful and help me out, how much that would help the average bettor, I don't know. I think that's the case with a lot of these things. It's like, I mean, the NFL Futures Simulator, for example, I think it's really cool. I didn't know when we built it what sort of response it would get and whether it would be, if a lot of people would consider it useful or not. And so, but I think I kind of take the approach with these products of, I want it to be something that I would personally use that I think would help me out and save time, energy. So that's kind of, but the short answer to that is that's something we're definitely looking at.
Yeah, it ties really well in with the simulator, right? The futures portfolio, right? You're going to ideally simulate your season and you get your value future bets and you track them somewhere, because right now there's nowhere to do it. That's one of the reasons we really like that. The more traditional, like spreads and money lines and stuff like that, I don't think that's in our immediate horizons, because there's other stuff we want to do. And there's some companies that do a really good job at that. I see BetStamp's one of them. We know the guys there, and they're kicking some butt. Ours would be more integrated with our simulator. It gives you a reason to come back and re-simulate and change things based on how the season's going and track your exposure. And it's kind of a different concept, or definitely a newer one for most bettors that we're excited about. But we do get a lot of questions about the odds page too, like when and if that's coming out. We definitely, you touched on it, Jack, but we're definitely hopefully going to come out with it sooner than later. It's one of those things. It's a bear by itself, having done odds pages in my past too, and obviously we want to put something on it that makes us unique. And we have a lot of unique tools even to draw from that you see on the site today to potentially embed into the odds page and kind of make it a different experience for people than just a flat screen. Ideally, there's a couple of extra layers of analysis on there for members, and we definitely want to, and we're excited about offering that too. We know that's a key tool really for any bettor at any level. And as Jack said too, we're really trying to build things for all types of people. People are just willing to put time in and learn about betting and the nuances and find edges. Like this is, these are the products for you. We're not going to spoon feed you stuff or give you picks, of course, but people that want to, put a little work into it. And if it's, even though you're betting $10 a game or, $1,000 a game, like hopefully there's something for both.
And I think that like Dan, I like what you're getting at in terms of like, basically, I think that in general, we want to build things that sort of products that integrate with each other, so portfolio tracker integrates with the simulator, an odds screen that integrates with trading tools, so you don't have to, so you can see immediately what the best price is, even if there's different point spreads. So, I mean, I think that's a bit of the vision.
Yeah. All right. It's getting a little slow here. Why don't we do a giveaway? Why don't we give away a t-shirt? So just to remind people, this is the Unabated t-shirt. Now, This is a very limited run. This will maybe be worth as much as an NFT someday, just because it's unique. There's
Why
not
don't we
many
just make it an NFT?
Yeah, the backside says Unabated. It's got our original logo. I don't know if you guys remember back to our original logo. Well, you better remember because it's still our logo. But someday when we change our logo, you're going to have the old school, the OG Unabated
Year
shirt
one.
that you're going to wear proudly around.
I
We
still
only
don't
have
have one of these
cards.
myself. It's
Yeah, Rufus doesn't even have
gave
one.
away mine.
Rufus
Well,
does, actually. I think I gave away yours, Rufus. But yeah, you have something Rufus doesn't even have. You have an Unabated T-shirt. Here's how we're going to do it this time. In the chat, entering just once, go ahead and put a face emoji, any face emoji you want to have, into the chat. I'm going to give it a few minutes for the chat to populate in there.
And Jack, I'll say, if people are on this, don't put it in the Discord. I saw some people putting the emojis into the Discord, into the Unabated one, which is great. You're on there, but this is use this instrument here.
Yes. Only if you're on the YouTube chat. Sorry, I should have specified that. It's so we do have a Discord now. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, sorry.
But we okay. I think we've got a few populating in. I'm going to just give it another 10 seconds, and I will slide our. See, I got to share things up here to make this all on the level and visible. Okay, I'm going to start scrolling around. Rufus, you tell me when to stop.
Now.
Browns fan, Matt Sacktown. Browns fan, Matt Sacktown is our winner. Let me find that. There he is. Show that. Matt Sacktown, Browns fan. I actually thought that he was typing Browns fan, but no, that's his name. Matt Sacktown, Browns fan. So Matt,
I hope he's very unhappy at the end of this football season.
we're fading Cleveland this year, Rufus.
I am in futures, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to get into that when we talk about the simulator here in a couple minutes. So Matt, go ahead and send an email to support@unabated.com. And if you could just type the first couple letters of your email address into the chat window here so that we know who to expect it from. You were the 8 o'clock T-shirt winner. I hope extra large is good for you. If it's not, I hope you got, some extra large friends or
I thought it was interesting. I was the one that bought the first run of T-shirts, and just you kind of pick random sizes and in the distribution of it, for whatever reason, a lot of mediums and large sports bettors that like us. The extra large crowd is not so into us.
Well, I have an extra large, so
I'm extra large too. Yeah.
I need like a small or medium.
So, okay, we're going to do one last question that I saw from the chat, because then we're going to transfer into the simulator. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Will the simulator be able to predict individual games? Rufus.
So it does, but I mean, the point is the simulator basically takes your power ratings that you put and creates a line for the game based on that. So basically, if it's, let's say it's a spread of 7 and, which is like 70 something percent, around 70%, I think. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but probability of winning the game, we're simulating a game, we're saying 70% chance of winning. So basically, it would be very redundant to have a simulator for individual games. That's basically what the trading tools thing is, in a way. If you have a team 7 points better, we're simulating the score differential. And
right.
So we simulate individual games in the simulator, but we are not simulating like at a play level or anything like that. That's, who knows? Maybe down the line we'll have something like that. But right now it's just based on your power ratings.
Okay, cool.
Is that a good enough answer?
Yeah, it is a good enough answer. That's how we're going to transfer into the simulator. Dan, thank you so much for joining us here. I appreciate everything you've done for Unabated so far. It's really been great working with you, and look forward to keep on working with you, my friend. So thank you for joining us here tonight.
I appreciate it. Look forward to all this stuff coming down the pipe.
Definitely. Okay, so let's transition here. Rufus, it's going to be me and you and the simulator. And I'm going to pull us both up on screen. And
Bye, Dan. See you tomorrow.
okay, so you know what? Just to make it so people can view all of this easier, I'm gonna take us off the screen and just make it the simulator. So when you go into Unabated and you go to the simulator, you have your three options here at the top. You have your results of past sims, and these are all sims that I've run myself. Then you have the ability to design a sim, and then you have the ability to learn more about the simulator. And I'm just going to start there quickly. If you're new to the simulator, I recommend watching this not very handsome dude here talk to you about what the simulator is all about, how to use it. It's, I think, a 3 or 4 minute video, and it kind of tells you everything you need to know about the simulator in a quick, condensed format. Then if you want to know a little bit more about how the simulator works, Rufus has written this article here called How the Unabated NFL Simulator Works. And this will be largely also what we're going to be talking about as we kind of go through the simulator in the next 30, 40 minutes together here. And then also there's this, if you don't have your own power ratings, and I think this question just came in from Jay. Thank you, Jay. I didn't pay you to post this question, but this is exactly what we wanted somebody to say. What if you don't have your own power ratings? Well, I have a video showing you how to create your own power ratings based on a dummy variable, a variable of points scored or things like that. But it's sort of the process of doing a regression build through using dummy variables to create power ratings. But even if you don't have your own power ratings, we have some we can supply to you, which we'll talk about in a second here. And then the other article that is up currently about the simulator is this one that I wrote about simulating quarterback injuries within the NFL simulator. I used the example of Carson Wentz when he went down and kind of did some various scenarios on how the Colts season would go with or without Carson Wentz. So let's dive into the simulator. And we are going to go ahead and create a new simulation. And Rufus and I will kind of walk through what we like to do when we try to create a simulation. So at Unabated, we have 3 modes of the simulator. We have basic mode, where you only need to enter in a single power rating for each team. Then there's the advanced mode, where you enter in a power rating for both the offense and the defense of each team. And then the unabated mode, which is the offense, the defense, and then a rating for the starting quarterback as well as the backup quarterback. So tonight, why don't we start off in basic mode, Rufus? Do you think that'll work best? Or should we do advanced mode?
Let's do basic.
Okay, let's go basic mode. So we have a bunch of different power ratings for you to choose from to base your model off of. You can use these wholeheartedly, or you can use these just to kind of give you a guidance. But you'll see we have the Massey Peabody analytics power ratings. We also have a preseason market-based rating, and this is based from the Westgate Superbook has put out a line for every game this year. So we took all of the lines of all the games, reverse engineered that into power ratings based on who they think will win each game, builds out power ratings. And to be honest with you, this is the one that I've been using the most because it's sort of like the best barometer of what the market thinks in terms of what's going to happen going forward. ESPN has,
Jack, as have I, despite the fact that I'm the co-creator of the Massey Peabody ratings. I still, I progress very strong to a market number. And so this is the best market number we have here.
Yeah, no, this has been really strong. We also have ESPN, PFF, Numberfire, team rankings. We have the very deceptive Massey ratings, which are not associated with Massey Peabody. This is Ken Massey. Oh. Your partner for years now has been Cade Massey. They are no relation. There just happens to be 2 guys with the last name of Massey who both have a thing about creating NFL power ratings. So we put them both up there. And then the other one here is game of year rating. So this is where a sports book has posted just select games throughout the year. and we've taken that information and kind of reversed engineered it into ratings. Obviously, this is not as strong as the full market-based ratings that we have. But here's the thing: the market-based ratings, they go away probably tomorrow. If you go to Superbook's website, they're probably going to take down all the advanced lines and just have the games from week to week and maybe the next week out. Whereas game of year things sometimes stay up longer, so maybe this will be updated further along in the season. But
the problem with that is that you have fewer connections between teams. So, I mean, think about, for example, if you only have 1 week of games, you can connect each team playing each other, but you can't connect those two to other teams. And so if you have a lot of game of the years for just the top teams, and you don't really have a lot for like a Jacksonville or Houston, then fewer connections is going to mean a weaker system.
Yeah. Which one should we choose here for our demo tonight, Rufus?
Let's do the market-based ratings. I actually have an idea, and I don't want to step on what you're planning to do, but let's look at the market-based ratings and then see if we can find value at the Westgate, which the Superbook, which these ratings are based off of.
That kind of sounds like fun. Yeah. Okay, so we have the market-based ratings. Now, when you're in basic mode, it's just a single rating for each team. Now, if you were to add these all up, these sum to just about 0. It's sort of like a zero-sum scale that these are all based on. And you can kind of go down here and eyeball it, and you can see, well, okay, the top team looks to be Kansas City, and the bottom team is Houston. And how power ratings work is disregarding home field advantage and anything like that and injury information. If these two teams were to play each other on a neutral field, Kansas City would be roughly a 14-point favorite over Houston on a neutral field. And then you factor in home field. Go ahead.
Yeah, they would have. Can I say that would be the average they'd win by? So I think it's important to distinguish that from a point spread, because the point spread, because numbers are sticky. I think a game where there's a line of 3 is going to land on 3 a little over 9% of the time, I believe. And so you can find that out on Trading Tools also. But it's and so these numbers are just like essentially do not take into account those discontinuities. So you have to convert that to a distribution. So for example, a team that is 3.5 points better than another team here, that doesn't mean they're going to be a 3.5 point favorite exactly, right? Because anyway, sorry, just had to go into the weeds for a second.
No, that's a very good point to make. So let's get into some of these other variables that we allow people to set when they're coming up with their power ratings. Home field advantage. We have it set at 2 here as the default in the market-based ratings for the basic mode. 2 is sort of a average over the past few years, right? That's kind of the league average over the past trailing 5 years or so. Right,
2?
Rufus?
Sorry, I was going into. I just discovered I can actually see the comments. ADHD moment, but it's declined steadily actually over the last decade plus. And so I guess it all depends on if you think it's going to continue to decline or if you think that's a bit of an aberration. I mean, obviously last year there was almost no home field advantage. So I really think that there isn't necessarily a data answer this year. I mean, you could say that, especially if we don't have all the fans. I mean, I think we will, but I would think our 2 or 2.1.
Okay. And home field advantage tends to vary based on team as well. There are certain teams that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was yes and no. I mean, I think that it also is going to vary based off of things like travel distance too. So the home field advantage for Seattle hosting Jacksonville is going to be greater than if they host San Francisco or something. But a place like Seattle is going to have. I mean, they have the acoustics there. A place like Denver, you have the altitude. There certainly are things that will result in teams having a greater home field advantage baseline than other teams. And that's what you can play with here.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to throw a question up here on the screen. How do you feel about Sagarin ratings?
Sagarin
ratings.
Yeah, Sagarin?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to give an indication of why we don't have Sagarin ratings up there?
I think Sagarin ratings are, if I remember correctly, just based on score differentials for games, not sort of the underlying fundamentals behind it.
Right, and technically, they are technically behind a paywall, right? But you could find them. Other people. I think so. To get the original source is behind a paywall. That's one of the reasons.
Today, right?
Yeah, I know they publish them. So I guess if they're published there, then they're,
I believe,
public.
Yeah. Oh, you just have to subscribe to USA Today, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway,
so, yes, subscription is required.
So yeah, and that's, so they're not really a very technical rating. That's why we don't have them up on the site as one to use. But it may be in the future. Okay, so the next column here is quarterback injury percentage, and this is the per start chance that the starting quarterback suffers injury causing at least one missed game, and we have you enter it in percentage for each game. And this is a tricky one. This is one that kind of can throw people off. Any guidance you want to give on this one, Rufus?
Yes. So first off, we have our own proprietary quarterback injury predictions that are in the Massey Peabody, and I think at some point we're going to have that option, or within these other rating systems. But right now we have it just the same for each team. So it's basically, if you think a quarterback's more injury prone than another, which is the case, you can adjust that. I found that previous injury history does matter in predicting future injuries. Things like quarterback size, height and weight, there's an effect there. Age experience, and so you'd think and then sack and scramble rate, things like that. But those actually don't have as much of an impact as I kind of thought they would. But I think if we were in the Massey Peabody mode, you could sort of see what those differences look like. And I think the highest we have is Ben Roethlisberger at 9.7% or so. You don't have to find it, but it'll be in basic. Let's do it from basic mode.
Okay.
And I want to say basic mode, I think it's kind of a little bit of a misnomer because it's not very basic. And honestly, you can do the same things really from any mode. It's kind of just presented in a different way. So for example, in basic mode, we have a quarterback injury penalty, whereas in advanced or in unabated mode, we need specifically a quarterback number and then the backup quarterback number. But here, you can see if you scroll down to Pittsburgh, what is it, 9.3? Is that a 3 or a 1?
9.3.
Oh, actually, Jimmy Garoppolo is a little bit higher, 9.7%. Look right below that, Russell Wilson, who I don't think he's missed a game his entire career. He's like Cal Ripken Jr. Well, hey, I'm an Orioles fan. Yeah. Cal Ripken Sr. was the manager of the Orioles when they started 0-21 that year.
Yes.
This year, as an Orioles fan, this year feels kind of probably similar to some people, but that so what happens is each game when we run the simulation, we simulate each game, and we'll simulate whether a quarterback got injured during that game or not. If they did get injured, we sample from a distribution of a number of games missed, which is based on historical distribution of number of games missed when a quarterback gets injured. And we didn't find any predictive value really, anything saying, if this quarterback gets injured, they're more likely to miss more games or fewer games. At least nothing based on a quarterback's previous injury history or anything suggests that we can predict how many games they're going to miss better than just sampling from the distribution of games missed when an average quarterback gets injured. And so when that injury happens, then we downgrade that team's rating based on the quarterback injury impact. And so the number you put in is the starting value for the quarterback injury impact. So if the quarterback got injured in week 1, that's what it would look like. However, the ratings evolve. We'll talk about dynamic uncertainty in a second, but the ratings evolve throughout the season, the simulated season. And so just because we think that Lamar Jackson is more than 8 points better than who's the backup? Is it McSorley or Hundley? I don't remember. I think McSorley.
Thanks, McSorley.
Yeah, it's not RG3 anymore. But just because we think he's that much better now doesn't mean like he will be maybe in week 7. Let's say the Ravens through 7 weeks are 2-5. They've underperformed. Lamar Jackson's rating is probably going to be worse than it is right now. So that difference will be less. And similarly, if a team overperforms, their rating will evolve, which means their quarterback rating will change as well. And so this is sort of just the starting point for that number, for that sort of quarterback injury penalty. But then after the quarterback, let's say they're out 3 games, starter comes back, rating goes back up, and we go again. We continue on.
Yeah, let's keep on continuing on to what the rough factor is, the rating update function, which is the measure of dynamic uncertainty. Go ahead and explain this. We knew this was going to be so groundbreaking for some people that we actually have a link up here to an article you wrote about what is rough, and you can kind of explain how this slider works.
Yeah, it's certainly the most difficult intuitively, but I think the way we wrestled with how to present it exactly, and I think this way would seem to be the most intuitively obvious to me. And so what it is, as Captain Jack said, it's a measure of dynamic uncertainty, which it's how sensitive a team's power rating is to simulated game results. So meaning that if the Jaguars start 5-0 and outperform expectations by an average of, let's say, 10 points a game or something, could probably be higher than that. How much is their rating going to change? We have the moderate number is sort of the default. It's based on what we found with Massey Peabody to be sort of optimal. But if you think that the Jaguars, there is more uncertainty regarding the Jaguars because they have a new coach, Urban Meyer, who maybe he sets the world on fire and his methods that worked well in college also work well in the NFL, or maybe he crashes and burns. And you have a rookie quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who maybe he has a phenomenal rookie year, but maybe he, like many rookies before him, like Peyton Manning, struggles. And so if you think there's more uncertainty there, the Jaguars rating would update more aggressively as a function of these simulated game results. Whereas if you think sort of a team is, like, in the words of Denny Green, like who we thought they were, and you're pretty confident, and basically a bunch of game results, a team overperforming or underperforming, your expectation for them isn't going to change your mind about that team very much, then you would have the rating update function be more conservative. Yeah. So if you want to, there's guidance on the actual impact of this, I believe, in the article I wrote. So it'll tell you basically how, I think we did the Cardinals. I did a simulation with the Cardinals on aggressive and then on conservative. And I think their Super Bowl odds went up from like 1 point something percent up to 3 point something percent on aggressive, and then down to a little under 1 maybe on the most conservative setting. So what it's going to do, though, the more aggressive you are, the wider range of outcomes for a team. The more conservative, the narrower, the range of outcomes. So think of it in a way as like the floor. Right? Think of it in a way as the floor and the ceiling for a team. And actually, I just read an article, I think it was on ESPN.com yesterday, where it talked about the floor and the ceiling for each team, like a record. And I got halfway through and I realized that the floor and the ceiling were 5 wins apart for every single team there. I was like, but this allows you to sort of say, I think this team has a much higher ceiling and a lower floor, or vice versa.
Right. So now if somebody's into this screen, you can edit any of these numbers. I yes. Probably didn't mention that. I probably should have. But, if you think Green Bay is not going to be a good team, you can edit the numbers. Let's go back to that market-based rating, just because That's where we were before, and that's what I wanted to do as an example. So, if you think Green Bay is not going to be that good of a team, and you want to set their power rating down to 3, if you think, Houston, because they're going to be so bad this year, maybe their home field advantage even drops. The fans just aren't going to be into the game. They're in the center of the country. Maybe they have 0 home field advantage.
In the center of the country. What does that have to do with anything?
They're not. They're not east or west. That's what kind of my point was.
Oh, for home field travel distance.
For distance. Jacksonville.
Or what happens if, or you could say, or what happens if like a governor says no fans in the stands or something? You could drop a team down to 0 and keep everybody else normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was definitely last year, came up quite a bit. Jacksonville plays one of their games in London every year. So like their home field advantage has got to be a little bit different, but then again, they're used to that travel and other teams might not be. So there's a case either way. So
think about the Saints this year. The Saints are currently homeless they're playing. Are they playing in Dallas? I believe for week 1. It's a neutral field game.
I think they're playing in Jacksonville for week 1.
It's Jacksonville. Okay, they're practicing in Dallas, I think. But that's a neutral field game. That hurts them. So in this case, it's only 1 game. So I think we don't know. Let's say it's 2 games out of their out of 2 games out of their 8. Literally, I just thought about this. Like I know we have the schedule loaded in, but like with an odd number of games, you have more home games than road games or road games than home games. I literally just thought about this for the first time.
The AFC gets the extra game this year, and then NFC next year, or something like that. I think that's
so it's the same within the division. That makes sense. But New Orleans, you could say, okay, well, if they're losing a quarter of their home games, well, let's make this, let's make it a quarter less than it would, which is just what you did.
Yeah. So that's kind of an example of like the different tweaks you can make in this whole simulator. We could, excuse me, we could probably go for hours here. Excuse me. We could probably go for hours just debating different little parts of this whole simulator. And there's an article that we have up on the site. I mentioned it early in the broadcast. Matt Davidow of Deck Prism Sports and of The Logic of Sports Betting. He wrote an amazing article for us in which he basically used all of his own analysis in right sizing the market-based lines and changing the numbers as he saw fit. It's some really great analysis, and it'll give you a leg up on using the simulator and using it well. So Rufus, just to continue our exercise here, what other changes should we make to this base model before we go ahead and run it?
Well, first off, you can also, if you want to make, I don't know if I'm getting ahead here, but let's say you want to make more extensive changes and you don't like just editing these cells individually. You're like, you can download a rating template and download the ratings and change them in your own, in Microsoft Excel or your own whatever spreadsheet program you use, and then upload them, and then you'll see them there. So if you'd rather do it that way, that's something you can also do.
Yeah. So just as Rufus mentioned, there was that link there to upload your own. You download the template, you then upload it back in the same format, and we'll go ahead and import it, and they can be all your own ratings.
It's kind of like what people do for DFS when they're mass entering contests, right? You download the template, like it's basically the same concept. But I see someone in the chat basically is attacking my Goff injury number being below 2%. But the whole point is, if you don't agree with that, you can change it. Like you're not forced to. And you're right. It does not consider that injury number. Doesn't consider the offensive line. It's a model that basically considers the guy's previous injury history, his size, his age, experience, etc. And so it does not consider the fact that Goff, has very limited injury history. He got hurt at the end of last year, but and believe it or not, being a skinny dude actually makes him a little less likely to get injured somehow. But
a little more wiry.
I don't. Yeah, like you think the opposite, but I mean, he's also not running the ball. But the whole point is, you can make this whatever you want it to be. You don't have to agree with my ratings. You don't, and you can you can just keep tinkering. I like tinkering with it. I've run a bunch of sims and just to sort of see different impacts. And I know we're going to get there, but let's. Let
me just make a quick point here, Rufus. If you join Unabated and use this simulator because you think you're getting Rufus's picks, you're doing it wrong. You're giving yourself almost enough rope to hang yourself, because just using the Massey Peabody ratings and using the simulator doesn't get you there.
I don't even do that.
What's that?
I don't even do that.
Right.
I don't, and that sounds weird saying I don't use my own ratings. I do use them. I incorporate them, but I know how efficient the NFL market is. And the Massey Peabody system is a team-based rating system. It uses team and it uses quarterback, and it does not use any other personnel. So it does not know that J.J. Watt left Houston and that Houston is going into this big rebuild. It knows that Tyrod Taylor is worse than Deshaun Watson, but it's going to have Houston. It's honestly going to have Houston higher than they should be because of that. And so I think that it can add a little bit of value in terms of people, like public overreacting to things. But the numbers are going to should be regressed towards a market-based number, which is what I do. And I mean, I do it in game level handicapping too. If I make a line -3 and the market makes it +3, well, the answer somewhere, hopefully for my rating system is somewhere in between. But probably it's going to be closer to the market number than it is to my number, because the NFL market is quite efficient.
Okay, good. Let's not keep these people waiting too much longer. Let's get to a sim that we can actually run. What other changes do we want to make to this screen?
One thing I should say, if you're using every quarterback with the same injury probability and the same injury impact, it's a little bit unrealistic. I mean, I think we all know that, Lamar Jackson, the injury impact is going to be much larger than it will be for Derek Carr, who's got Mariota behind him. And Mahomes getting injured would be devastating to the Chiefs. That's going to be worth at least around 7 points or so, probably. And so, you want to know that if you're using the same for every team, it's going to help the best teams and hurt the worst teams a little bit. But that is offset slightly by the fact that better quarterbacks tend to get injured a little bit less. But if you want to say, hey, I don't even want to mess with the quarterback injury stuff, you can just set it to 0 for everybody. And then, although then you're going to be underestimating dynamic uncertainty, because it's going to be assuming the same quarterback's healthy. So sort of the hacky way, if you wanted to do that but not take a position on quarterback injury, would be to do that and then just make the rating update function a little bit more aggressive. But sorry, you probably didn't want me to go into the weeds like that.
No, I mean,
but the point is you can play with it.
And the other thing you can do is you can take the market-based ratings and then you can download the Massey Peabody ratings and import them in, change the spreadsheet around to have these in there as with the Massey Peabody quarterback numbers and make a hybrid.
And you can also, so we have the Pro Football Focus ratings as well, which has quarterback, it doesn't have quarterback injury number, but it has a quarterback injury penalty. So you could use that. If you wanted, you could make a hybrid. And I think at some point, we're definitely going to have that option more explicitly. And so you don't have to go and, so you don't have to go back and find those numbers or go in that other system.
Does Massey Peabody know that Drew Brees?
Yes. It loves Jameis Winston though.
Okay.
Personally, I love, I'm a big Saints backer this season again.
Okay, so let's keep moving here. All right, so we have a very rough model here. Any other changes you want to make in the slider here?
Let's just go pretty basic. Let's keep
okay.
Although if you made Kansas City, if you changed the quarterback injury numbers for two teams but not the others, let's just keep them. Let's just keep it with the defaults -3 for everybody.
Okay, I can back real quick. No, I got it. I only made a couple changes. So
I mean, given the quarter, how much that's going to affect it, it's not going to be that much given injuries. It's 4% per game, so it's not huge.
Okay, so we're finally on to the next screen here, folks. So you can name your simulation anything you want to, or we kind of give you a very descriptive name. This is the basic mode. This is the preseason market-based ratings model that you're following. This is the date and timestamp, and you can always change that later as well. I'm going to go right ahead and simulate it. So we simulate it, and it counts up this bar here. While we're doing that, I think it's time for another giveaway. So we're going to give away another t-shirt here. This time in the chat, I would like your favorite animal. Go ahead and put your favorite animal into the chat. Just one emoji.
Can I decide which animal wins?
Well,
maybe also you should say what size the shirt is first, because if I was getting an extra large shirt, I'd be like, why did I even try?
It is an extra large, and that's the only size we have. But
that's why I don't have a shirt.
It'll be extra large. I don't know if we could name an animal, because there might be more than one person that. Oh, you know what I meant? Sorry, I meant to use the emoji. I see some people are just typing it in. Just put the emoji.
I don't know if the animal that I want to pick has an emoji. It's got to, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would guess so.
If anybody can pick my favorite animal, the first one to do that will get the shirt.
Well, now, how long is this?
Sorry, Jack.
How long is this going to take?
Well, I might have to give some hints.
Rufus.
My favorite animal is bulletproof, by the way. You have to have a rocket launcher to actually poach it. It's not a dog, obviously.
I'm relying on you to be able to spot the.
I'm having to look really closely at these things. I see a rhino.
I'm not sure that animal is available as an emoji.
It's got to be. It's like it's a pretty. I saw it in Africa on safari. It's quite common. I mean, in Africa.
What if they type the name of the animal?
Well, that's perfect.
Because I think we had somebody. I believe this was first. Is this correct?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, this animal is often known. I'm seeing emojis that aren't loading for me, or just has a little square box. Maybe one of those people. Maybe it's one of those, but people think it's a rhino. It's close to a rhino, but it's not a rhino. It's much cooler than a rhino. It can swim faster than Michael Phelps and run faster than Usain Bolt. And when it poops, it like sprays it all over. Yeah, there we go. Jason Samuel.
Let me just make sure that was the first one.
I don't think it was.
All right. Yeah, and I don't think there is a hippo actual emoji, so I think that's going to have to count as our first one.
Hippos did you know they're vegetarian, but they just like if like you look at it if you look at a hippo the wrong way, it'll just decide I'm gonna F you up. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here.
Yeah, like an explicit rating. But Jason Samuel, you have won a unabated original extra large t-shirt. Jason, if you don't mind, put in the chat the first couple letters of your email address and then email us at support@unabated.com.
Someone said bulletproof chicken. I don't know why I find that so funny, but I do.
All right.
Okay.
So
should we continue on?
Yes, we'll continue on. I'm just writing down that Jason was our 8:30 winner. Okay, so our simulation is done. Let's get back to the screen here. Okay, so our simulation's done, Rufus. What do we see here?
Let's sort by wins here and see what we're looking at.
Okay.
Let's go the other way. How many double-digit teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm just going to look and see. 84.4% Chiefs to make the playoffs. Seems, pretty reasonable. I'm sure the market's going to be higher than that, but almost 15% to win the Super Bowl. Chiefs, Bucks, that makes sense. I mean, this seems like what you'd expect. Let's go down to the bottom. How bad are the Texans going to be? 5.1. 7.6% chance of making the playoffs. Wow, they actually won the Super Bowl in one of the simulations. That's,
In
there
10
are,
of them,
yeah.
right?
Well, it's 0.1% is rounded, so we don't know the exact number.
Oh, okay.
But wait, 10 would be 1 out of 1,000. Yeah. So let's go to let's look at it in the futures. Or do we want to look at?
So the cool feature we have here, let's show them the distribution thing real quick.
Yeah, I like that. Let's go for a team that I bet a lot of individual wins on, the Raiders.
The Raiders.
I'm a Raiders supporter.
So you can click on that little blue sandwich there, or what we want to call it, and you can get the full distribution of the Raiders wins. Now, this comes straight from the simulator. This is 10,000 simulations of the season, and based on how many games they've won, across all of it is based on how this table is built. So this isn't built on any kind of formula of a half win is worth this or that. It's based on simulation results.
Yeah, and I think someone asked a question of like, what distribution do you use? I use the simulator.
So this was a really powerful addition we had, that because a lot of books like to put out alt win totals, and they tend to use like this formula for finding how much a half win is worth, and it's not. I don't think it was too solid in my opinion.
Can I talk about that for a second? I think
yes.
I think that people. So in Sharp Sports Betting by Stanford Wong, he talks about a way to price it using the binomial distribution. I think that is fundamentally incorrect, though, because it assumes no dynamic uncertainty. It means that if you think that the Raiders are fundamentally a 7-win team, they will be fundamentally a 7-win team in every game, in every season you simulate. The reason that their win total will be different is just due to essentially luck, randomness. For example, actually, I should have said 8.5. Let's say an 8.5 win team. Then if every game is 50%, essentially, you would do, occasionally you could flip a coin 17 times and get all heads. I mean, very, very, very occasionally. But basically, that way is just pricing it essentially like it's a weighted coin flip. But it does not allow for the possibility that a team actually changes. So which is a huge degree of, it's a huge part of the uncertainty. Just because we think a team is going to be bad doesn't mean they actually will be bad. They may actually, that's why power ratings change. If they didn't, the power ratings you see in week 1 would be the same at the end of the season. And we'd just be like, oh, these team, one team got lucky, the other didn't. But that's not the case. And that's why I think it's fundamentally flawed. And some books still price things a little bit that way. But while I'm talking, I also pulled up DraftKings to see, since we don't actually have on our future screen, we don't have exact number of wins because not all books offer it. But let's see what the Raiders price is. We can still, if we go to number of wins, we can still see that exact number stuff. I want to see if there's still value there. Spoiler alert, I might have bet things there already.
All right, I'm pulling up the distribution again there.
This would be in team specials? No, team futures. I can... I'm going to find it. Exact season wins. I found it. Raiders. Okay. So Raiders, 6 wins is priced at plus 400. I'm at DraftKings, but...
Okay, yeah, I'm just going to meet you over there real quick here.
If you got to go to
team specials,
team futures, exact season wins. To the right.
There we go. And down to the Raiders.
Yeah, I just did Command F search.
There it is.
Okay. So 6 is plus 400, 5 is plus 450. Let's see what these tails are. That's the more interesting thing. 14 is 120 to 1.
Move some windows around here to try to get them both on the screen.
Hopefully the definition will be okay.
Okay.
So they have 6 wins at plus 400. We have it plus 625. No value. 5 wins plus 450. We have it plus 964. No value. In general, there's not going to be a lot of value around the median. And they tend to think, based on where they're priced, that's sort of around 7. So if let's look at 8 plus 650, we make it plus 640. So
small bit of value there.
A slight bit of value. Though it looks like 8 is literally listed twice, or is this on the on DraftKings? That's unusual. At least they have the same odds for both. 9 plus 662. We see you can get plus 900. Or the simulation we just ran was plus 662. 10 is plus 908, and you can get plus 1100.
Yeah,
there's value there. 11 plus 1472. We have it. DraftKings plus 1600. A little bit of value. Let's get to the very edge. We have it 30 to 1 for 12. They have 40 to 1. We have 51 to 1 for 13. They have 60 to 1. 14, no value on 14. We make it 191 to 1, and they make it 120. And then 15 or more. So in that case, we look at the alternate price for over 14 and a half, which is plus 35,614. So 300. No value. Yeah, no value. So there's still a little bit of value there left. I think I got like 13 at like 100 to 1 or something. There were a few that I picked this. I already bet these here. So there's not going to be as much value as I just knew that there was some value still, but not a lot based on this.
Yeah. No, I mean, and of course, we'll use the caveat. This is based on this very crude simulation that we created, this very basic market-based ratings.
It's market-based ratings. But you're right. It's based on the every quarterback having the same injury probability and same injury penalty. So.
Okay, so for people that are kind of following along here, this is our results screen. And over here, you can select which topic you want to choose from your simulator results. We were talking about number of wins right now, so I have it set to that. It looks like a very colorful window, right? Well, we have highlighted everywhere where your simulation is presenting value in the market. And there's a lot of it still left out there. These are current numbers. These are accurate as of now. So we're talking about the Superbook, right? Because we used the ratings that were based on their lines, and there is a lot of value out there at the Superbook based on season win totals, just using their own numbers. Now, some of it's very thin. We don't have a kind of a cutoff. So like, the unabated price is minus 112 and they have minus 110. Well, that's a little too thin to want to go ahead and bet that. But in other areas, it's significant.
It's not super surprising where we're seeing it too. It's generally on unders for higher totals and then overs for lower totals, because I think that has to do with potentially not having enough dynamic. Regression to the mean for the top teams, and a bit of the dynamic uncertainty issue as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this is, and, we have about 30 sports books listed here. Now, not all of them have season win totals that are being picked up by our process, but there's a lot of them. Now, the question I know we always get asked is, well, you have all U.S. books there. Are you going to have any offshore books? That gets to be a little bit of a tricky issue. What we're really looking to do is have market-making books. And we recognize that there are still a lot of market-making books that are not regulated in the U.S. And we want to recognize that. So we would like to be displaying the lines of the big offshore market makers, Pinnacle, Chris. But we want to do it in a way that we're giving you the real-time full access to those lines. We don't want to have just scraped odds or stale odds that you get elsewhere. If you're looking for market making information, you need to have the real time price, and that's one of the goals that we have with the odds screen, as well as even the future odds, although future odds don't move quite as fast. But that's one of the reasons why you don't see it there yet. It's a work in progress that we're looking to solve, and I really hope that that's what we're able to do down the line. But in the future screen here, these are kind of aggregated numbers. Like I said, they're up to date, but futures odds don't change all that much. Rufus, let's look at odds to make the playoffs. Now, not everybody has these lines, but this is another kind of interesting market. And the reason I bring this up is because this is a market that's going to change as the season goes on. And how will people be able to use our simulator to attack this market all season long?
One thing to know is that most of these books are also offering a missed playoffs too. So it's a two-way market. We're currently just displaying one side of it. That's something I think we're gonna try to have both sides at some point. But this is sorry, what was the question?
Well, so in other words, this is something that a lot of books leave up all season long. You can bet after week 3, will they make or miss the playoffs? How will users be able to use our tools to keep on working into these markets?
So use it. I mean, the same way. This is. I mean, I've talked about this on Bet the Process. It feels like every week during the season. Like Jeff and I did the trip through futures or whatever it was, futures update, where we talked about where Massey Peabody showed futures value, and by what I did was ran simulations after that week. You can do the same thing here with your own ratings or any of the other rating systems out there. And compare your numbers to the numbers out there as they update. So a lot of times I will say there's some opportunities because books aren't always quick to update, especially like a team that might be better than people expected. They might have a team that might have gone off at like 80-1 odds to win the Super Bowl or something. They start 3-0 and their odds have only fallen down to like 50-1. Sometimes there can be value in catching a book napping for sure. And the playoffs, I mean, the other thing that the simulator is capturing well is going to be the tiebreaker stuff, which is certainly important. And at this point right now, it's not, we don't know if it's going to help or hurt a team that much. I'm sure there is, I'm sure you could find, I mean, maybe some situation where, a team is expected to be helped by it because they have easier, I don't know, conference games or an easier conference schedule, and that's the tiebreaker somewhere. But as we get further and further into the season, that's going to become more and more important. And the fact is, our simulator is able to we hit all the tiebreakers all the way up to I think we stop right at net point differential, which I don't know the last time we've actually had a playoff berth decided based on net point differential, but it's possible. I mean. But at that point, we flip a coin, which is, by the way, on the NFL list of tie-breaking, procedures. There is a coin if it gets far enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, you compare your numbers to the book's numbers and see what you find, and that's something that I've typically done every week myself, and with Massey Peabody stuff, and you can do this with that or with market numbers or other numbers. Although the market numbers, as we said, they're preseason. We're looking for essentially something to sort of replace that. I kind of had the idea of like an odds makers power rating poll or something like that. If we could get like, Matt Metcalf at Circa and maybe like, Chris Andrews at South Point or someone from some of these market making books. I thought that'd be kind of a potentially a cool idea, but that we haven't actually done that yet. So,
yeah.
Sorry, you can't let me talk this much, Jack. I'll just keep rambling.
So let's talk about the results of the simulation back here in the design screen. At any point, you can go into your previous designs. As you can see, I've run a few.
Jesus, a few, yeah.
I'm a power user. But so this is the one we ran tonight.
How much money are you costing us?
Yeah, that's true. You can also. you can export your ratings to a CSV. So not only can you download that template, but if you want to take your ratings, or if you want to share your ratings with somebody else, you can export to CSV. You can rename. If you're embarrassed at a sim you made that was just kind of nonsensical, you can delete it. But you can do a bunch of different things here where you kind of take all of your rating systems that you've been working with, and kind of review it. And then you can also make changes to these and simulate it again. So you can kind of say, okay, well, I have this one that I made these 5 tweaks with, but let me kind of tweak it a little bit further. And you can, kind of refine and keep on simming it until you get to one where you feel that's a true representation of how things are going to be, and simulate it again, and then compare that against the futures odds again. A lot of people probably think that our simulator is a tool for preseason only, but it's not. It's actually something that can be used all season long. And as the season goes on, and as the simulator builds in the previous weeks, that's less uncertainty that has to go into the equation for the following weeks. So like the Massey Peabody ratings, they get stronger as the season goes on, right, Rufus?
Yeah, I mean the Massey Peabody ratings get stronger. Every rating system gets stronger because there's more information out there. So it's going to be it's going to be less uncertainty.
So I will tell you that last year at FanDuel, with about 4 weeks to go in the season, I found some ridiculous value. They had priced some things, and maybe they didn't take the previous week into consideration, but it was one of these things where basically I was fading a 4-way parlay in order to lose the bet. In other words, the bet might have been like, will this team not make the playoffs, or how many wins will this team finish with? And you could, there was only one path to losing. They had priced everything out, or maybe not updated the pricing, but I was just basically fading, this 12% chance of happening in order to, to cash my ticket. And actually lost 1 or 2 of them, which was kind of surprising, but it happened. But that was some easy EV that I was able to pick up. Now, I did that without the simulator. This year, I'm going to have the simulator, so just the low-hanging fruit maybe isn't the answer. Maybe there's other bets that I can make throughout the season. I will say that, and James Holzhauer wrote an article yesterday for The Athletic. He mentioned Unabated. Thank you, James, because I know you're not listening. But thank you anyway for mentioning us. But he mentioned in there that books are getting smarter, because books are doing the same thing that we're doing at Unabated. They're creating Monte Carlo simulations to help project out tail events of a distribution, to kind of say, oh, here are the odds. It isn't just a straight binomial. And I think they are. James thinks they are. You may think you've probably got value already this year that you think they haven't wised up yet.
It's funny. Some of these books kind of flipped last year, BetMGM, just their exact number of wins and sort of these tail events were egregiously mispriced. And this year, not quite as much, but I think FanDuel, I found the same thing. Alternate win totals, the tails were a little bit, were not priced correctly, and they were using too little dynamic uncertainty. And this year, it looks like they're using, if anything, maybe too much dynamic uncertainty. So they kind of went the other way. But if you don't, the whole point is we can actually run the simulation to see exactly what it should be.
Yeah. So that's basically the simulator in a nutshell. I think it's time for another giveaway. And Rufus, I'm not going to let you dictate the terms on this giveaway. It's another T-shirt giveaway.
Is it still an extra large?
It's still an extra large. That's all I got.
They're all extra large. Okay. I think that's important.
You can sleep in it. I'll send you one.
I would not want an extra large shirt.
All right. So if you would like an extra large Unabated T-shirt, and let me put myself up on the screen here. You can see this lovely T-shirt with the Unabated logo. It's got Unabated on the back. It's new, never been worn, tag still on. This isn't the one you'll get, actually. But anyway, point being is, if you would like a chance at one of these T-shirts, in the chat window, I would like you to put an emoji of a form of transportation, car, train, plane, automobile, whatever, put a one emoji of a form of transportation. Go ahead and I'll let the chat window populate up, and we'll do the random selection of somebody in the chat to get that. And I'll let that kind of build in.
We should be like, give us your best futures bet or something like that.
See, now there you go. I just said I'm not going to let you dictate the terms of this, and you went ahead and came up with a better idea.
No, we're giving out. We're doing transportation. I like the UFO though.
Yeah, we still got another T-shirt giveaway to come up later in the broadcast. So I'll keep in mind for that for your choice there. Okay, so they're still rolling in there, so I'm going to let it kind of pull up, and then I'll bring it into the screen, and we'll go ahead and make a selection.
Spanky's comment in here.
Do I want to?
XL would only cover one of my tits.
Yeah, and there's our explicit rating. Okay, I'm going to pull it in here. Let me make sure I get on the screen. Okay, I am going to scroll around. Rufus, you tell me when to stop.
Stop.
And it is Deontay Melton with his ambulance. So Deontay Melton, you have got yourself a Unabated T-shirt. So Deontay, if you could email support@unabated.com and tell us, we'll get your address from you there. And if you could in the chat here, just put your first couple of letters of your email address, just so we know who it's going to be coming from. I'm just trying to find you in the chat window here to post yours into the screen. There it is. So it's Deontay Melton winning his Unabated T-shirt. Hopefully extra large is your size. And we'll email us at support@unabated.com. We'll get you a T-shirt. Okay, so we're going to move on to using the trading tools and attacking the NFL game for tomorrow night. We're going to see if we can find value on the Tampa Bay-Dallas game tomorrow night. Rufus, you are welcome to stick around and hang out here. But I did tell you I'd only keep you like 90 minutes. So if you want to take off, you can. If you want to hang out, you can.
I'm going to at least turn off video because I have to. I didn't time manage well enough, and my dinner got here approximately 2 minutes before this came on, so I'm going to have to microwave it.
All right. Okay. Anyway, it was good to have you on the screen here, Rufus. Hopefully you'll hang around in the background, maybe participate in the chat window while you're eating. We're going to talk some NFL value. Have a good night, Rufus.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So Rufus is gone. We're going to go back to our multi-screen setup here. Just give me a second to kind of get all set up. We don't need that one anymore. How's our bets doing on the Dodgers that we made, the -3.5? Is that anywhere have a chance? The game's only about an hour old, so I don't want to sweat that too much. Okay, NFL betting. So let's talk about what we're going to do to try to attack this game coming up tomorrow night. First thing we need to do is in these sports books that I'm pulling up on the screen, we're just going to go into that game and see all the different derivatives that are available to us. Now, I will say that the NFL is a bit more efficient market than Major League Baseball, so the chances of us finding something kind of just popping out, maybe not as strong as with baseball. And I think everybody understands some of the regular angles, Wong teasers. Obviously that game right now, the Tampa Bay is a Wong teaser candidate. But it's important to know what price you're going to pay for the Wong teasers. And so I think one of the first things we should do is find out what the optimal price is for teasing Tampa Bay. And you can apply this to other teams as well down the line. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to use the alternate lines calculator. And honestly, this is probably my favorite calculator. It's the one that has the most utility. Compare lines is basically two alternative line calculators put together and then compared against each other. But the alternate line calculator is really, I think, the one that is everything's based on in terms of that math. So we're going to go ahead and put in that game, and you know what? To be honest, let's check on that vig free price, because I know this line's been moving all around, especially with Dallas's offensive line struggles. I'm not, MGM has 8.5 flat, 8.5 skewed to Dallas. Let's just look through some different sites. I'm going to leave resorts out of it for now. There it is. They're at 8.5. Eight and a half. All right, so on another screen here, I have the Pinnacle line. The Pinnacle is at 8 and slightly skewed towards Tampa Bay. Look, Pinnacle's very sharp when it comes to NFL. I know their sharpness has kind of fallen off in the past few years, but when it comes to the NFL, they're still pretty sharp. I'm going to go ahead and put in the Pinnacle line, vig-free line, which they have at Dallas +8, -101, and Tampa Bay -8, -110. So that gives us a vig-free 8, Tampa Bay -8, -104. That's the one I'm going to put in as the market line, the primary line in our alternate lines calculator. Total on the game, because total does matter. When you don't choose a total, and like if we were to do this, if you didn't choose a total, it's going to use the league average, and it's a trailing league average over the past 5 years, I believe. And so that right now is 50. That is the league average points in the NFL in the past 5 years is 50. It's been going up. So if you didn't enter a total in here, it would use 50. So let's use 51.5. I noticed in the chat somebody was asking, how did I come up with that vig free? From earlier in the broadcast, we had talked about this little section here. Let me make my screen a little bigger. Section here where these are just some quick calculation tools that I put together just for this broadcast. It's basically vig free pricing, calculating an edge, and doing probability to odds conversions. Nothing crazy, no voodoo there. But so on the total here, I'm just going to put in what is the Pinnacle line. Now, I don't need to put vig free here because we're not actually finding anything to do with the total. We're just using the total as a reference point. So basically, it's going to take that and say, okay, for a total of 51.5 and skewed slightly to the under, this is the calculation it's going to make, the algorithms it's going to make. So that said, if we were doing a 6-point teaser, especially if we're doing it at a shop that currently has Tampa Bay at -8.5, we could put in an alternate line of -2.5, and it would tell us that the equivalent price is -302. Now, when you have a teaser, I believe it is -268 if you're doing a 2-team -110 teaser. That's your break-even point is -268, or is it? Well, let's do the math on this real quick because I'm blanking on which one it is. I think -120 might be -268. But I wrote an article about this. How to build profitable NFL teaser bets. And trying to find where I put in the -288. So as I read my article that I wrote like a month ago and don't remember the exact numbers. Yeah, I think it's -288. Let's see if that makes sense in the down here. Oh, it would be 74. And it's going to be like closer to 71%. I think -268 sticking in my head, 72%. The other number was in my head was -252. Anyway, point being, sorry to kind of get a little distracted there. Point being is we have our So let me just put this back in here. -1.5, and it was over -104, -107, -2.5. Okay. All right, so we know that if we can beat -302, we have a profitable teaser. And we know that -302 is around 75%, 75.12%. So this is going to be a good teaser, because if you have a higher than roughly 71% chance of winning that leg of the teaser, it's a good teaser. Assuming you're betting it at decent odds, like -110 for a 2-team 6-point teaser, or even -120 should be good at that price. So yes, this does make a good teaser. However, you can also use this to kind of calculate even further, like what if you had like a -7? Let's go. The popular one these days is to talk about -6.5. So what if we had -6.5 and you tease it down to basically money line? You get -256, and -256 is only like 71.9%. So that's where your pricing does come into play, because if you have two -110 lines, a two-team 6-point teaser at -110, you're talking more like a 70, like I think that's right around 70.7% as the break-even point on each leg. So therefore, 71.9 doesn't give you much. It's still profitable, but it's not by much. And then if you have a -120 two-team 6-point teaser, 71.9% probably doesn't get you there, and this wouldn't be a good teaser candidate. So long story short, you can use the alternate lines calculator to look at what the proper pricing should be for a teaser leg. And then you can use that, kind of combine that together. So in other words, since both legs have to win, if we had two minus, what was the other one? -302, I believe, right? Yeah. So if you had two of those together, you could just multiply those two probabilities together. So 75.12% times 75.12%, and you get 56.43, which that's probably around like -130. So in other words, if you were getting better than -130 on that 8.5 down to 2.5, you're doing fine. If you're getting -110, you got an advantage. If you're getting -120, you got an advantage. And we can always plug that into the calculate your edge and put it up against a -120, and it's still a 3.5% edge. So I don't know. I got a little scattered in explaining that to you, but the point being is you can use the tool, and you want to find where your numbers exceed what the probability of each leg should be for teasers. And if I didn't do a good job of explaining that, you can go ahead and read that article, because that made a little more sense of it than I just did. Let's get back to trying to price out some derivatives on this Dallas-Tampa Bay game. So let me load up our line here on, let's see, that was -1, that was +104 on -8, or no, sorry, it's -104. Yeah, -104. That's still correct. Okay, so let's start with what would be the appropriate price of the money line. We can set the alternate line to 0, run this through, and we see it says -382. And if you look over here on FanDuel, well, sure enough, 382 is falling between 330 and 420. So that definitely fits in there. But let's go ahead and we'll look at some alternate lines. So let's start with, we're talking about Tampa here. What if you feel like Tampa is going to blow them out? And so you're looking at pricing for like -13.5. The tool says +160 would be the appropriate price. They're only giving you +155. It's not a bad price, but it's still not enough. And what I'm going to do is go over to one of these other books here that might not be as sharp, because where is the alternate lines spread? Okay, so this is where it can be kind of fun. When you look at, I'm going to actually, let's BetMGM. What I'm trying to do is get one that is listing a lot of numbers and they almost start to be a little bit nonsensical. Here we go. Okay, so over at BetMGM, they got all of these various numbers on this game, all of these spread lines. And if you just glance at them, and we're going to look at the Tampa Bay side, you'll notice that right here, you can bet -16 or you can bet -16.5 and you get paid the same. So these are the points where I usually say, oh, wait a minute, what's going on there? Like, you know, is this a point where there could be some value? And you see there's not value according to this, plus 218, and it's only paying 200. But let's keep going down here. And the other thing we want to look for is areas where there's not much of a jump. So from 14 to 14.5, yeah, there's a bit of a jump there, naturally, because the 14 is more valuable. But from 14.5 to 15, there's not much of a jump. Let's just see what -15 is. That's probably not going to be, no, not quite advantageous. But let's look around here. Obviously, the 9 isn't worth much, so that's why they're not giving you much around the 9. The 12 to 12.5, let's look at the -12. And again, sort of like what we were doing when we were doing the baseball earlier, this is sort of what you have to do. You have to just keep kind of hunt and peck around all the different various lines to find something that could be advantageous. And one thing you can do to kind of speed this up is as you go through, you can write down. I always have a pad handy here, and and just jot down like, okay, I'm looking for the -13.5, and I know that Unabated says it's going to be plus whatever, and that way you don't have to just kind of keep on running it back and forth to the tool. You have your kind of set points. And like I said, I sort of like to look at the extremes because they're the ones that are most likely to be mispriced. So -17.5, 258, they're dealing 240. So that's probably not going to be good enough. Let's go the other direction. +3.5. -620, they're dealing 800. So they're probably not going to find any value within this range, although this kind of just stuck out to me here. 1.5, 2, and 2.5 are all priced the same. So let's see what +2.5 would be. It's it's at least a point better than 1.5, and it's still the same price. 443, they're dealing 500. So not quite an advantage there. So it is what it is. Let's look at some totals on this game, though. And we're going to go over here, pull up the totals, go over here to, and again, I'm going to use that Pinnacle line. This time I am going to find the VIG free price. So the Pinnacle line was -104 on the over and -107 on the under, and that'll be 101 as the VIG free line. So over 51.5, the over is +101, the under is -101. Let's see what it gives us for, and again, we're going to kind of do that same analysis here. For over 42 is the same price as over 42.5. Let's see what price says here. Okay, so we have what looks to be an advantage here, -321, and BetMGM is dealing -300 on the over. So again, we can do this math down here. Something that is -321, 76.25%. So we take 76.25% and we put that up against a line of -300, and we see it's a meager 1.67% edge. It's probably not something I would personally bet, but an edge is an edge. Let's see if there's some others here. That's promising that there's that, so there could be some others. Let's see down here. Let's check out like over 60. +251, so yeah, not a play there. However, -251 on the under they're dealing minus 250. So, you know, that could be something. Let's see what 61.5 holds. 285. So that actually is properly priced there in terms of the 300 on the other side of it on the under. So not a whole lot going on right there. Let's check over at DraftKings. See what they have on some of these alternate lines, because they put them right here at the top. We'll start with the totals. All right, so at their extreme, let's just see if we see any small jumps. Like this right here kind of stuck out to me. Over 48.5 is only minus 155. Should be minus 139, so that's not an edge. Let's go up to the extreme there of 46.5. And not an edge there. Let's go down the other end here. 56.5 is all they go up to. Not an edge there. In fact, not at all. Like right where it should be. So, okay, nothing going on there. Let's jump back over to the spread. Again, we're using the minus 8, minus 104. This is for Tampa Bay, 51.5. And we now know that this is the big free price, so put that in there. And let's see, Tampa Bay minus 4. No, not an edge there. Let's go to Tampa Bay minus 14. Not an edge there, but getting closer. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to kind of belabor this point of kind of going through these one by one over and over. I think you get the gist of how it works. There was one other tool here that I didn't show earlier, and that is the closing line value calculator. And the reason this is valuable is it works across multiple points. So in other words, if you were to bet, for instance, this game tonight, for tomorrow night, it opened minus 6.5. So if you were able to get Tampa Bay minus 6.5, and let's just say it closes at 8, minus 8, and you want to put the vig free closing line in there, because this will kind of tell you compared to the market is what your closing line value was. This will tell you that you had 9.67% of closing line value. Now, I do want to point out that there are some differences in how different people calculate closing line value. A lot of people just tend to subtract the two implied probabilities. So in other words, they say, the closing line probability is 50%, and the implied probability of the line you bet was, based on the closing line was like 53%. So therefore 53 minus 50 equals 3%. Your closing line value is 3%. However, you do need to divide that by the implied probability of the line you bet, because that gives you the relation of closing line value in relation to the line you bet and in relation to the closing line value. So that ends up with a number that could be higher than what some other people say the closing line value is. It's still the same thing. It's just there's two different ways to kind of go about it, and neither one's right, neither one's wrong. Well, neither one's wrong. They're both right. It's just, it's just a different way to go about it. But this is very useful if if you don't know the value of a half point, to know, like, if you were to bet over 49 minus 110 and the game closed at 51.5, and we'll say flat, we'll say even money because that's the vig free price. This will tell you that your closing line value is 8% on that. It's a fairly good value. Now, if you were to put in minus 110, you're not factoring in the vig, and it becomes a higher number. But if you put in the vig free price, it'll be about 4.5% less, because you're factoring out the vig in terms of your value, because that's true. You had to pay vig in order to make your bet. So so that is what we're looking at. I guess what I'll do is I'll throw it open to the chat here. If anyone would like to talk about some bets, either for tomorrow night's game, for Saturday's college football game, there's not a whole lot of alternate lines that are up on college games 3 days beforehand. So we're probably not going to find other in various of these New Jersey books, but we can look if you want. If you want to understand how to use the tools a little better, or if you have a question about it, go ahead, put it in the chat, and we can work through it together. I'm just kind of catching up on the chat here. So this is a good question. Is that spreadsheet at the bottom of the screen on Unabated? It's not, but the more that I kind of prepped for this live stream, the more I thought, yeah, we really should have had these simple calculations up on Unabated. So I think we're going to work to get at least a VIG-free calculator up there for you guys, to get calculating your edge up there. The funny thing is so a lot of these calculations are ones that I had in my earlier videos that I had on YouTube on this channel about calculating your edge, calculating probability to odds and things like that. But we can put them up on the site, I think, without too much lift. Our chief engineer's in the background here, and I'm hoping he's nodding his head. I can see you, Matt. He's nodding his head. Yes. All right. So we'll try to get those up on it and worked into our site. Because the more I used them tonight, the more I was like, I probably should have had some Unabated tools that had the answers to these questions. And Matt had said he's going to drop it into the Discord as well, right? I think. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what other comments we have here. By the way, we do now have a Discord. We're going to announce it on Twitter tomorrow. It's you can link to it right from the dashboard, right from here. Join the conversation over in our Discord. So if you want to come in there, I was answering a bunch of questions all day long, but it's really not meant to be Ask Jack or Rufus. It's meant to be talk amongst yourselves, build a community. Once it starts to get some momentum, we'll create some more channels and kind of get it to grow. We hope it's going to be sort of like this is a weird term, but a safe space to learn about sports betting. We don't have people selling picks. We don't have people touting themselves. We just want to exchange information and kind of help each other along the process. Some thinking about things, critical thinking and discussion and ways to kind of go about your process of learning to be a better sports bettor. So I think the Discord is going to be a really cool space. I'll be in there all the time. Rufus will probably be in there all the time. So if you want to engage with Rufus and I, or the other guys that work on our team, there's a lot of people that aren't on camera tonight that work at Unabated that are really knowledgeable, and they can help you out in terms of their knowledge of the site and everything we offer. So Brock asks, have you gone over the hold calculator already? Yes, we did. That was one of the first things we did in the live stream. Just briefly, what I'll pull it up here. It's pretty straightforward. If you were to put in -110 and -110, you're going to get 4.5. It's actually 4.545454 repeating. So rounded to 4.55%. That's the theoretical hold of the sports book. If you were to put into something that has an arbitrage opportunity, you get a negative hold, and that means the sports book has a negative hold. You have a positive hold of 2.21%. So the hold calculator is pretty straightforward. Gambling Bandit asks, what are going to be the costs to stay subscribed going forward? We did cover that earlier. We don't know. We actually haven't even talked about it. There will be a subscription cost at some point. We just have too many costs in running the company and running the site. And we feel like we're putting out a lot of valuable information, a lot of actionable, valuable information. And so there will be a paywall at some point. We haven't really discussed when that paywall will be, but it's at least going to be free for the time being to kind of get people to use it and enjoy it and make use of it in their betting. Are we going to have some merch? Yeah, probably at some point. In fact, why don't we give away our last T-shirt here? While we still have a big crowd. Again, if you're just joining us, you could win one of these amazing Unabated T-shirts. It's a limited run. I'm going to put myself up here to full screen. 1 second. You could win one of these amazing Unabated T-shirts. Very rare. On the backside it says Unabated. It's actually like a very dark gray. It kind of shows up black on the screen, but it's actually a very dark gray. It's kind of cool. It's a very quality cotton T-shirt. We only have extra large. Okay, so to enter this last drawing for a T-shirt tonight, an extra large T-shirt, in the chat, list your pick for the Super Bowl champion of 2021. Go. We'll let everyone kind of put in who they think the team will be. We're going to randomly select this, and the funny part will be is if the team we select even has a chance to make it. I'm not really. I know everybody's putting in the Texans and the Jags because everyone loves an underdog. But go ahead and enter in who you think will be the Super Bowl champion this year. And the winner will get a Unabated T-shirt, which we'll choose from here in a second. Okay, all right, we got quite a few of them in here. All right, pulling this up. They're still rolling in. Let me get this up on the screen. Okay. I am going to randomly start scrolling around here and stop. Oh, it's right between. I'm going to go to the Niners here. I'm going to say Snow Joker B. Snow Joker B, you have won yourself an extra large Unabated T-shirt. I got to get that off the screen before it starts repeating over and over again. So, Snow Joker B. There you go. Go ahead and in the chat, just give us the first couple letters of your email address and then email support@unabated.com. And we will get you a Unabated T-shirt mailed out to you. Just writing down your name. And, hopefully you wear it with some pride. I was thinking, what we should do is we should have a contest where we'll sell some merch. And then if you post a picture of yourself wearing an Unabated T-shirt in a sports book, we'll give you an extra month or something to your subscription or something like that. It's kind of cool to just kind of viral market ourselves around. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know about our merch, what we're going to have, what we're going to do. I feel like we should. I think it's a cool name. I think it's a cool idea. I think it kind of separates you when you have Unabated, but it doesn't necessarily say Unabated. That's one of the reasons this T-shirt is just the logo. Because we want to make people say, more like a superhero type logo. You're wearing the U on your chest there. It's kind of a cool concept. So, all right, let's get back to some questions. For the rest of the time here, we got about 20 minutes left in the live stream. I want to take some more questions. If you wanted me to demo anything with the tools again. I know that somebody had mentioned in the chat that they weren't able to get in at beta.unabated.com anymore. That was our beta site, because we're in full production. So it should be redirecting, but if it's not, go ahead, just go to www.unabated.com and you can get in. Your same login still works, your same authentication still works, and the site's all there. All your old sims that you may have done, they're still in your account. We just transitioned over to the full production. Somebody mentioned the quarter zip was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Hopefully we get another one of those. I was just looking. I put it over here just to maybe hold that up in the scene. But yeah, the quarter zip was pretty cool. Maybe get another one of those up sometime. All right, Gambling Bandit says, thank you, Captain. Love what your team is doing. Thank you, Gambling Bandit. And love that you guys are taking off with this. Like, there's so much value out there. And I know it was hard to kind of just pick a random game tonight and try to crawl through the value. But honestly, I've spent hours using these tools, and it's been quite profitable. So it was yesterday or two. There was a couple days ago, the Phillies beat the Brewers 12-0. I found Phillies minus 4.5, I think it was, or -4. Might have been -3.5. I don't quite remember. Anyway, it was priced at plus 700, and the tool said it should be priced more like plus 450. I think it was just a line that got fat fingered when they entered it in or whatever. But it hit, at a plus 700. You don't hit a lot of plus 700s when you're just grinding out here and there. So it was cool to kind of hit a nice one there. I logged in my account like, whoa, what happened? I didn't even watch the game. Just kind of went back later. And I was like, whoa, why is my account, $3,500 higher? That was kind of cool. Hey, Adam Chernoff, good to see you in here, my friend. Appreciate it. Adam's a great guy. If you are in the mood to kind of get some quick hitting information about the NFL, Adam puts out the Simple Handicap podcast. It's great. It's short. It's sweet. It's it's really good. I like not having to kind of carve out hours of your day to try to get your research in. Adam does that for you with his Simple Handicap. It's really good. Somebody had asked, what is the CLV needed to beat -110? Well, you would need to have at least a 4.5% edge and then go from there. So in other words, like, I'll pull up the CLV calculator here and we'll use the NFL. So in other words, like if you had bet -3, -110, and it closed at -3, well, then you would put in the VIG free number there of even money, and it's going to say you had a -4.5% closing line value. Now, if you had bet -2.5, -110, then you would have a 3.74% closing line value against that closing line, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you had a completely positive EV wager, because you have to factor the VIG in there as well. So yeah, I mean, so in other words, like if you had entered in -3, -110, this would include the VIG, and this says good value, but you have to take the VIG out, which would then be this. So you would actually have a 3.74% edge beyond the VIG at that point in using the calculator. So just to clarify that, put the closing line value in as your VIG-free line, as the closing VIG-free line, and that'll give you a truer sense of how your bet did, not necessarily how you did, with the VIG factored in there as well. All right. Oh, hey, Spanky's got a question. How you doing, Spanky? Good to see you here. Thanks for coming out and taking this all in. Spanky's got the Be Better Betters podcast. You guys hopefully have all heard the Be Better Betters podcast. He's got another season coming up soon. I don't know how he can top the previous seasons, but Spanky asks, say I want to bet the Rams. 3 shops have -7.5, -105, -8 even, or -9 plus 105. Can you describe how Unabated shows the best option? Sure. So we can do the compare lines calculator for that. And we kind of have to compare one to the other. So we'll kind of daisy chain these together. So the first one was -7.5, -105. And the second one was -8 even. Okay, so those are equivalent. Spanky, are you trying to throw me a curveball here? Is that what you're doing? So that's actually equivalent. There's only basically a 5-cent difference there. The 8's, not much of a number to be had. But let's compare 7.5 to 9 plus 105. Okay, so 7.5 is slightly better than 9. It's sort of like getting 9 plus 108. And of course, 9 plus 108 is better than 9, 105. So if we know that 7.5 is better than 9 and 7.5 is equal to 8, then 8 should be better than 9. Putting us to the test here. And it is. So 8 plus 100 is equal to 9 plus 108. 108 is equal to 9. And of course, 7.5 was equal to 9 plus 108. And 9 is equal to 108 is better than 9, 105. So yeah, like that's a tricky way that you can like approach it. And you say, oh, I got all these 3 numbers, which one's best? You kind of work through them each. And then you find that, you know, that's the case. So thanks for the question, Spanky. As I was putting that in, I was like, man, I hope this works because I didn't want it to look foolish, but you know, thanks. Hey, got a guy in Arizona. He's got sports betting going live in Arizona tomorrow. Adam, have fun with that, man. Arizona is going to be a good market. I think a lot of people from Las Vegas are going to drive down across the dam, get to Arizona, get on their phones, do all these promotions. I think it's going to be a good market for you guys. So good luck tomorrow. Hopefully it goes off smoothly tomorrow there in Arizona as they get, live sports betting. So Big Show, I'm going to put your question up here, your comment up here on the screen, because this is something that has kind of kicked around internally for the past year that we've been working. So this is stuff that he's done in Excel for years. And now we have this available to everybody. And, you know, is this going to dry up his edges? So here's the thing, Big Show. These sports books are not in the business to get everything nailed down correctly right now in the US. They're in this business to just get market share and get people to sign up. And I really don't think they care to tighten every single facet of their operation. That's why they limit people so broadly, is because they just, you know, don't want to have to deal with people trying to pick off their inconsistencies. So if you're picking off lines like this, yes, you might jeopardize some of your well-standing with a lot of sports books. But I don't think we're going to jeopardize that this market is just going to dry up. Yes, we may kind of sop up a little bit of the inefficiency that's out there, but I don't think it's going to, like, you know, look at it this way. I don't think sports books are going to use our tool to set their lines. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities still out there. Now, if I'm wrong in time, well, that only hurts us as well, because then we'll have put out a product that becomes obsolete when there's no more value left in the market. But I'm banking on that not being the case. I think there's still going to be a lot of value left in the market for years to come. All right. There was an odds screen question. When will the odds screen go live? We're working on it. We have some prototypes that just aren't quite there for us yet. We wanted to make sure we got everything up and out to the public for the NFL season. Obviously, it's a big, you know, it's like New Year's Day tomorrow. And so our odds screen's just not there yet. And we're still working on it. We're going to have it up there. And we want it to be an odds screen that integrates with the rest of our tools so that you're able to use the odds screen to find the price of alternate markets and then to figure out what the edge is in that alternate market. Once you find the price, maybe have some things kind of slide into the screen that you can use, VIG free calculator or something like that. And also have it so that you're looking at not where the line is, but where the line is going. And that's where we're focusing on those market makers. So you know the line's moving at the market makers first. So we want to have the fastest feed with those market makers so that you know where the line is going at all these other books, all of these regulated recreational books that are a little bit laissez-faire when it comes to their bookmaking. We're going to be the tool that attacks them. We're going to be the tool that basically, shows their inefficiencies, and you can kind of use our tool, our odds screen, to kind of get the edge at some of these other recreational sports books. So yeah, the odds screen is going to be really good. It's just not quite there yet. Hopefully in short time. And if anyone's new to the broadcast here tonight, Rufus also talked about, and you can kind of replay that back. He talked about our props simulator that he's working on, which is really cool stuff. Again, it's something that's not out there elsewhere. Yes, there are other prop tools. There's plenty of DFS tools everywhere, but they're all using kind of this bastardized math. And there's some better ways to handle this. And Rufus kind of has proven by beating Super Bowl props for millions of dollars every year, he's kind of proven that these methods work, and we're going to have those methods into our prop simulator and our other tools that are kind of explore some other mathematical distributions. So it'll be kind of cool. So Ron asked about bankroll management and how important it is. There's definitely going to be some articles towards that down the line. One of the things that I've said in my videos, though, Ron, is if you think bankroll management is your key to success, you're missing a step, because a lot of people try to use bankroll management as a crutch to cover up how bad they are at actually picking winning bets and finding edges in the market. If you're finding the edge in the market, the bankroll management will catch up to you. Bankroll management should only be for optimally sizing your bets and optimally increasing your bankroll. It's never going to be a magic formula that makes up for negative EV wagers. So there's definitely some more articles coming out on that. But until then, you can go ahead and check out some of my other videos. I believe I mentioned that in the NFL video last year. Oh, the Making $100,000 a Year video, I mentioned that as well about bankroll management. So definitely check those out. Okay, I got 10 minutes left here. A lot of chat questions coming in. Matt, if you're in the background there and you want to kind of steer a question towards me, go ahead and do that, just because there's so many that are flying by. But if you see a good one, go ahead and steer it my way. Just looking back, see if I missed any other good questions further up here. Joe asks, when is the best time to hunt and peck? The lines are so liquid. What if you get money down and the line moves against it? Okay, good question, Joe. There is value at all times in the market, but you're going to find the most value when lines come up. Now, I'm not talking about the opening line, which is kind of mythical, because you're not going to be able to get that opening line unless you're like really dedicated to hunting down where that line opens. But you can get value on a Tuesday in NFL betting, because that's where the lines are coming up. They're very fresh. Now you might not get alternate line value and derivative pricing value. That's generally going to come up later in the week. But when those lines come up, you can sometimes find some value. If you're betting baseball, which is going every day all summer long, you can find a lot of value in the mornings. I tend to shop my baseball between 9 and 10 a.m. and I'm on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it would be 6 to 7 a.m. probably. That's when you start to see some of the value evaporate in the markets. But there's plenty of opportunities there in both baseball, football, college football. Now, college football, I've noticed the derivative markets are far later in the week. And maybe that was largely because it was week one, it was early season, but you're going to find a lot of the derivatives in college football for this coming Saturday aren't quite up there yet. So if you're hunting pecking for derivative pricing and mismatches and inefficiencies, do so as soon as you see those lines start to come up. And that's sort of about knowing the market. You kind of need to know how the market's breathing and operating in order to know when to jump in and find that value. Okay, I'm just going through my assistant, Matt. Can you talk about some strategies and not getting limited in books? Oh, that's a good one. Let me find where that one was. Okay, I'm not. Oh, no. There it is. Okay, can you talk about some strategies and not getting limited in books? Man, it's tough. It's a lot of these books, they're just painting with a broad brush these days. They're limiting anybody. We got 135 people on this stream right now, and there's probably thousands more that are going to replay this. And one of the things that I want to do at Unabated down the line, once we got the paywall up, is start to have some real talk about how to overcome some of these books that are just limiting everyone. But it's not stuff that I want to put out on public for everyone to see, for free, because there's some real value in this. And I don't want to give away all the secrets on a public facing website or on a broadcast like this. So I have some ideas for this. It's something I definitely want to teach down the line at Unabated. One of the things that's cool about Unabated that I didn't talk about tonight is I'm going to have the ability to teach courses. I can't do that on YouTube. I can't create like a video series that loops into the next one that maybe has a little bit of a quiz to kind of make sure you retained the knowledge. I can't have interaction in within the video itself. But we're developing a way to do that at Unabated so that I can teach a course on everything you need to know about X. And you can take that course and kind of go back to a module if you need to go back some other time. And one of the modules I want to do is, overcoming recreational books and finding ways to last longer, or at least kind of, I don't know, when they shut the door, come in through the window type of stuff. So that's going to be a future topic on Unabated, and hopefully you'll be a subscriber and check that out when that gets posted. Another question here that Matt had. Okay, is there a way to get some of these gimme sign up offers without going through an affiliate? Yeah. So one of the things that I have on the site, and I'll just pull up the article real quick here. There's the question. Okay, one of the earliest. This is by the way, this is a good article too here, guys. Is there ever a good reason to buy sports picks? The reason I made this article is Ed from Right Angle Sports, who's a handicapper that I respect. We don't always see eye to eye about everything, but I do respect his abilities. He had challenged me, and he says, you got to tell people that there is a reason people can buy sports picks and be profitable. And I was like, you're dancing on the fringe there, Ed. But okay, I'll write an article and kind of spell that all out. And that's the article I wrote. And I think it's pretty good. Talks about, when is there a good time to buy sports picks and what you can use it for. But that's not the question we're asking now. It's this article here on how much are you worth. The sportsbooks want to know. And I talk about the various sign-up bonuses. And I talk about in here this whole bet 1 to win 100 type thing that a lot of these sportsbooks like to do. They like to do it because it's the cheapest possible way to get you in the door and get your loyalty. And yes, you're looking at it as like a can't lose. There's no way I lose this bet. So therefore, this is the best possible deal for me. When in fact, if you're okay with adding a little bit of risk into your appetite, there are far better sign-up deals. So honestly, the EV for a lot of these deals is pretty small because you get the payout in free bets that then need to be wagered, and you don't get the stake back when you wager it. So they're really only worth a fraction of what the actual value of the free bet is. I talk about it all in this article. And when I wrote this article, there wasn't even the Caesars $5,000 sign-up deal. And that came out a little bit later. And then just today, our good friend Robert Delafave, who is I saw him in the chat, he wrote this article for us about risk-free bets and about taking that risk. And what can you get when you take that risk? How much is it worth? And what's the optimal way to play it? It's a really good article itself. So a couple good things coming up on the site here that have to do with things that everyone's kind of coming across, which is all these sign-up deals. They are free money, but they vary differently in how much free money is free. How do the pros forecast line movement? This is from Daniel, and we're coming up right on the end of our time here, so I'm just going to fire through a few of these. How do they forecast line movement? Well, how do you perform at Carnegie Hall? You practice. You learn through being in this industry for a long time and paying attention to markets and kind of seeing what moves markets. Mainly what moves markets is information. It's just a matter, did the bettors get the information first, or did the bookmakers get the information first? So when a blast goes out that LeBron James is suddenly injured or he's going to be resting tonight, that's going to move the line. Who got that information first? Did the bookmakers get it and adjust the line, or did Spanky and his crew get it and hit it all over the world and move and get the line down, and all the other bookmakers see that and they adjust quickly due to Spanky's action? I'll give you a clue. It's largely Spanky most of the time. He's ahead of all this information. He's just got better tools. He's just got a better crew than a lot of bookmakers do in terms of their information gathering. But how do they forecast it? It's not so much forecast, it's how do they react, and do they react much faster than everybody else? When are standard opening lines released in college football and NFL? Well, it depends on the source. And what we've seen is that Circa out in Las Vegas is willing to put up the college football next week lines on Sunday afternoon at like halftime of the NFL 1 p.m., the early game window. That's when they put up the college football lines for the next week, and they're the first. For a while, Win was the first at putting up the NFL lines, and they would put them up, I think, at halftime of the 4 p.m. games or something like that, the late window games. I forget what it was. But, you know, that was those were the first two. It varies. You have to kind of look around and see who's trying to be the first to market out there this year. I know Circa's trying to do college sports. I'm not sure about NFL. I'm not sure if they're trying to be first to market there or not. Okay, keep on plowing through here as we finish up our hour. Why don't you use dark mode on Chrome? I don't know. It's just the way I am. Don't shame me for my screen. Do you have a certain number of bets you like to place every week, or is it based on what you find? It's totally based on what I find, Deontay. It's, there's days where I just don't have the time to dedicate to the process and I don't get any bets down. I don't feel like I missed out. It's just other things got in the way that day. There are days where I grind all day and I might have a ton of bets. Today was one of those weird days where I had a lot of other things going on and I just out of the corner of my eye saw something. And I was like, oh, I can take advantage of that. And I was firing in bets left and right, between other engagements. So how many times do pros turn over their bankroll in a year? Well, I mean, it depends on the size of your bankroll, right? If you have a small bankroll, you better be turning it over multiple times to grow it. If you have a big bankroll, you might only ever risk like 0.1% on any given wager. And therefore you would need at least 1,000 wagers before you're turning it over. So it's kind of an unknown equation there, Daniel. But we can talk about pro activity sometime down the line. Maybe that's a good article for Unabated. Okay, I'm gonna find one more question here. Or did I find the last question? I see there's some chat about some other offshore books. So maybe that's a good place to end it. We're pretty much right on time. I want to thank everyone who came out tonight, attended this live stream. I hope we did enough to kind of give you an idea of how the tools work on the site. I would have liked to find crazy value all over the place with our tools, on the live stream, but it was a lot of seeking around, and we probably didn't find enough to impress too many people. But trust me, it's out there. I've seen 5, 6, 7% edges left and right some days. It happens. The simulator is a great tool. Check out Matt Davidel's article. That's actually up here on the screen right here. He's got some picks in there, and some of those lines are still available. And it's not like he's making picks just because he wants the clout. Matt doesn't need the clout. Matt is world-renowned as one of the sharpest bettors that's out there. He doesn't care if you bet or not. But he went ahead and he did the work to give us this article, how he used the NFL simulator. It's tremendous. You're going to learn a lot reading that. Go ahead and check out Unabated, and we're going to be doing some stuff in our Discord going forward. We're going to have some live streams within our Discord, especially after we get kind of a paywall and a membership and all that. There's going to be a lot of value added into being a member at Unabated and getting direct access to Rufus and I and others in order to kind of help you along your process. So I think that about does it for tonight. Again, thank you all for attending, and have a good night. Go out there and win some wagers.